What is going on, everybody? It is episode 718 of Pop Culture Crisis. My name is Brett, and I am here once again with my co-host. Would you introduce yourself, please?
Hello, Crisis Actors. It's Mary. It's Thursday once again, and that means Phil is joining us today.
Hello, everybody. My name is Phil Labonte. I'm the lead singer of the heavy metal band All That Remains. I'm an anti-communist and a counter-revolutionary, and I like to throw sand in the gears of the left.
There you go.
I'm going to let you finish, but Jose Quintana sent us a $25 super chat saying,
Thank
"Good
you,
afternoon, Ghost Empress and Optical Overlord. Mary, as an act of ultimate loyalty to you, I had a chicken Big Mac from McDonald's this afternoon. Not bad, a bit messy. Long live the Empress and Overlord."
Aren't all Big Macs kind of messy, though?
I don't know. I've never had a traditional Big Mac.
What?
I love McDonald's, but I have never been about, like, I don't like their burgers. I just get, like, you know, like a what is it, filet of fish, or like McChicken, or
Filet
like
fish
McCrispy.
is super underrated.
Yeah, really though, seriously, but it's too expensive. It's too expensive now.
Filet of fish with double cheese, because they only give you a half a piece of cheese.
Oh,
so you got to get the double cheese, so you get a full
But
piece
they're gonna sell that to you for $5, over $5 at this point, with no side, no drink. That's crazy business.
I have my own routine now. Whenever I go to get my hair cut, there's a Little Caesars right by there, which I don't.
You treat yourself.
I treat myself.
This is a little treat.
I decided, so I'm gonna stop soda for a week. You know, as you always say, I'm always offering little challenges to myself.
You're doing what I say is you do experiments on yourself.
Yes, to see how it affects my body and my health. I make mild changes to see what's causing what. But I went to Little Caesars, which the last time I went and got Italian cheese bread, and I actually got a pizza this time, and it was $8. I'm like, bro,
this is Little Caesars.
Bidenomics killing me right now.
Little Caesars should not be
$8
that expensive. No,
it was. But to be fair, so I was like in the car, like eating a piece of pizza, and just like, wow, I feel like a piece of shit right now.
Well, that's the point. That's the point. In fact, I actually buy food from Starbucks. And this is controversial because a lot of people hate on the food from Starbucks, but I feel like it's just so shitty and nothing and mediocre that it's actually like a self-discipline for me.
There you go.
To eat the Starbucks food. It's penitential.
So what I was thinking was, there's this scene in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, The Secret of the Ooze, at the beginning, where they show like everyone in New York eating pizza. And there's this scene where there's like a guy in a car at a stoplight eating a big slice of New York pizza. And it's like, what I think I look like, what I actually look like with this just tiny, decrepit piece of pepperoni pizza, which, to be fair, was still delicious. But I didn't exactly feel like a great person while I was doing it.
Felt like a sewer rat.
Yeah, a little bit like a sewer rat, like Splinter. Okay. Guys, we got a bunch of stuff to get into today, but before we get started, would you hit the like button, please, on this video? I mean, if my story about Little Caesars hasn't gotten you to hit the like button yet, what the hell will? Hit the like button on this video and subscribe to the channel if you have not done so already. And if you have not, share this video and these live streams out with your friends, your family, your loved ones, people you like, people you hate, more enemies if you have them. The more people you share it with, the faster channels like this can grow. It is the best way to help us. So thank you guys so much for that. So we got a lot, and I do mean a lot, to get into today.
Yes.
But we'll just go over the broad strokes here to start. So first things first, there's been a lot in the news lately about Justin Bieber, because a lot of people are asking, how does he connect to Diddy? You know, we talked about Usher the other day endorsing Kamala Harris and all of that stuff. But more news is coming out about Justin Bieber now, because it seems that one of his business managers might have swindled him for a large amount of money. So it's a question to be asked, right? When you start making that much loot, how do you actually trust someone with your money? So we're going to get into that. I'm sure Phil will have unique insights, given that he works in the music industry.
I've had the same business manager for over 20 years. He's great.
Good guy.
We'll hear about him later, I'm sure.
Mary's like, shut up.
Moving on.
Don't derail the
We're
conversation.
going to talk about that. There was also an unbelievably sad story that came out in the news just the other day about a young boy, a teenage boy, who actually took his own life after conversations with an AI chatbot named after a Game of Thrones character. It truly is one of the most depressing ways you can think of modernity these days. So we're going to get into that. That's a tough subject. But also, misogynistic horseshoe theory. Apparently, according to what Mary has told me, this article, hot guys and ugly dudes, incels and chads, they both hate women equally.
Yeah. That's the science.
All
We're
right.
going to believe the
I
science.
believe the science. So we're going to get into that. We're also going to talk about this viral.
Are they saying that like people that are not incels or chads don't hate women?
I guess
That they're less
you're-
misogynistic than the extremes is
Yeah.
what they're
I'm
claiming.
extremely interested in this.
There are more details, though. It makes it, I think there's something to debate here.
So we got that. We got that. Also, if you haven't seen this yet, I feel bad for you because you're about to have to. About this theater kid, this girl she was in her own improv troupe.
That's the part that we're leading with.
That's
She
the part
was
I'm
in
leading
an
with.
improv
She was a
troupe.
forever girlfriend to this guy.
Yeah.
He wouldn't commit. They wouldn't get married. And she, to deal with her grief after they broke up, she made a breakup song, and it's a doozy.
It's a doozy.
We're
And it went
gonna get into
viral.
it. It's gonna be a lot of fun. So if you guys are ready, without further ado, you ready to get started?
Yes, let's go.
Phil, you ready?
I'm ready. Let's go.
Well, we've got something awful to start. We actually moved it to the front. I actually forgot because I saw this last night.
Surprise! Mia Khalifa has strong words for the U.S. military, saying the government doesn't care about you, and she hopes that you suffer from PTSD.
That's literally what she's saying.
Yeah.
I'm of two minds on this because her delivery is absolutely infuriating, but there are points to this that are not untrue.
Well,
That's the problem.
let's hear it.
Let's listen to it.
Brett, don't side with the terrorists.
I'm not siding with the terrorist. Here we go.
Good morning to everybody who is not in the U.S. military. Good morning to everybody who is.
Her hand
sitting
motions
at
are just
home
making me
and
feel
not
violent.
on soil that doesn't belong to them, fighting a war for a country that doesn't care about them. I hope you go over there and get your little brain all scrambled up with PTSD and then come back here and see how much the United States cares about you, Pookie. See how much they care about you when you come back with, oh, I'm so sad. I piss my pants every time I see a falafel stand in Manhattan. Let's see how much the VA cares about you. Let's see what they tell you to do with your little broken brain from going over to fight a war that's not yours. They're going to tell you to try breathing exercises because the U.S. government does not give a fuck about you once you cannot die for them. Once you're done, once you're a shell, they don't care about you. What did I say on Z-Way that one time? Yeah, I think that still stands as very accurate.
The TikTok hand motions. It's too much. I can tell you downloaded your personality from TikTok.
Okay, here's my issue. The delivery is one of the most infuriating things you will ever see in your entire life. It's designed to be infuriating in that way. But I also don't believe that anybody would disagree that we don't treat veterans as well as we should here in this country.
We have a 20 from Mr. Moose Knuckle. Hey, Brett Wurst, Murray, and Phil. A little
just
late
gets
to the
his
party,
actual name.
but glad my favorite background noise survived the purge. Love from Frostbakistan. I mean Canada. Love that. We're going to be using that.
Frostback is good.
Yeah.
Phil, what is your take? You were a Marine.
She is a broken individual. I think because of all of the D she took in the 3 months when she was doing adult films and then felt bad about it and felt like she was taken advantage of.
Well, no, she's actually said that she has PTSD from the work she did. So there's a stunning lack of empathy
We have
here.
2 more 20s. D-Man said Cringe of the Day has some competition. Yeah. CJ McLean.
I don't think we have Cringe of the Day today.
I thought I sent it to you, but if I didn't, I'll find it. CJ McLean said she must be friends with Frogan.
That's
who?
Honestly, I do think that this is the exact same argument that Frogan was making. Frogan is a moderator for Hassan's chat. So Hassan is one of the most terrible human beings on earth, and I wish that Twitch would just ban him for eternity because he's garbage. Not for anything he said, but just because he's a bad person. But I do think that Mia Khalifa is really doing a lot of projecting there.
Mm-hmm.
I think she's broken. When I heard it, I mean, I completely and totally forgot about the fact that I think violence against women is wrong. Totally forgot that the entire time she was talking.
It's designed to be infuriating.
Yeah, it is. That's the point. And so that's why I'm like, okay, That's why
we don't listen to someone who belongs in an insane asylum.
Well, no. Here's my issue.
She left Lebanon or whatever because people were like, because it was so violent and stuff. She lives in the United States. The reason the United States is safe is because of the military, two oceans in the military. Like the military is a significant deterrent to people coming here and actually engaging in war against us. And now she's sitting there spouting off like a, like a dumb 20-something-year-old girl. So.
Well, here's my problem with it. So it's about clout, right? Because if it was about the actual message of her words, it would be delivered in a way that wasn't designed to be combative. Politicians that actually seem to want to care about America first do at least try to pay lip service, mostly failing, to the idea that we do need better care for veterans. We need better ways of taking care of them when they get home. It is absolutely true that the VA can be a nightmare for many people when they get back here. And I've seen endless stories about that being an issue here in country. So the fact that there's accuracy to her points is lost in the fact that the way she's delivering it is designed to be combative.
None of it, I don't think that any of it is actually because she cares about those issues. I think that she's using that as a means. She's just using that as a tool to insult people. And she's making very typical dumb leftist points. These are the same kind of things that you would hear from, leftists on campus that are anti-Israel, that are pro-Hamas, and she's clearly pro-Hamas. On October 7th, she was saying, the freedom fighters, tell the freedom fighters to turn their phones to horizontal mode so you can get more of the action. Like
that's a sick thing to say.
Yeah, she's totally endorsing. She endorsed October 7th, and to my knowledge, she hasn't walked it back. And you can hate the existence of Israel, but I mean, there was clearly terrorist activities going on October 7th. That wasn't a military operation. Raping women is not a military operation. Actual civilized countries punish their military members if they engage in those actions in a war zone. Like if the United States finds out that any soldiers raped people, they go to jail. Yeah. They don't get held up as martyrs.
But I was also like, the Palestinians don't want you, girl. Like, do you know who you are? You filmed porn videos in a hijab. Like, they don't like you.
That's why it's dumb leftist stuff. It's not like she's not a good she's not a good Muslim girl. She's not living a chaste life and wearing hijab or whatever. She's a Westerner who she's a Western leftist. And the only similarity between her and the Muslims in the Middle East that hate the Jews is they hate the Jews and they hate Israel. And it's even for different reasons.
I even saw people comparing it to Nat Turner's rebellion and saying essentially this is like anything they do justifies, the end justifies the means.
There was the infuriating streamer the other day who wished the same thing upon American soldiers while eating and drinking a pure leaf tea. That was the same type of, you watch that stuff and you understand that it's designed to get into controversy to help them.
Partially, yeah, but Twitch is full of anti-Semitism. Frogan and a few other streamers they were rating other streamers on and this I think was actually at TwitchCon with like advertise with sponsors stuff behind him, and they were talking about they were either Arab or they were Sabra. And Sabra is a kosher brand of hummus that if you know about like the Middle East, you know that that's really saying Jew. That's what they were intending.
Thank you guys.
Crisis party.
Nobody's dancing.
There's dancing.
I feel awkward now.
All right. I just when I saw it, I can't get over the fact that type of delivery is what people think is going to work to actually change minds. And then you remember, it's not designed to change minds. It's not designed to even really make a point. It's just designed to make you angry.
Yeah.
People just don't have their own personalities anymore. Talk the way that you talk. Is there even a you? Because I can tell you adopted all of these mannerisms and the way that you speak from other people.
Yep.
TikTok is truly just destroying anyone's individuality.
I don't think that it's just TikTok. I think TikTok is a vehicle. It's not actually where the ideas come from.
What do you think it is then? Like
It's
where
leftism.
Okay.
Well,
so,
I'm not even
but it's-
talking
but it's
about
a
the
tool, then.
ideas.
It's a
I'm talking
tool
about
to
the
spread
way
ideas.
you communicate the ideas. It all is downloaded from other people.
Well, much in the same way that
That's why she's so annoying in that video. She could have delivered it in a respectful manner,
But that's not
you would
designed
still
to be that
disagree
way.
with
Exactly.
it. It's not designed to be that way.
No, it's designed to make
The
everybody angry.
underhanded pointing thing is just like
I mean, when she said Pookie.
kooky.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's belittling.
All right. We got more to get into today, so believe it or not, we're not just going to leave this off on the thoughts of an ex-porn
everyone
star.
knows that Azalea Banks is a philosopher, and she asks some really deep and profound questions. Namely, this time, where is white people music anymore? Why isn't there any great white people music? She said, so sorry, but Nickelback, Creed, and Matchbox 20 were great white people music. I don't understand why so many white people make fun of Creed. I love Creed, and Papa Roach still tears, and My Chemical Romance has a great catalog.
Yeah, but
Why? What's going on? I also saw people posting the Smooth Criminal cover again, being like, "What happened to this genre of white people
I saw
making
that.
music like this? What happened to them?"
I saw that it was, well, they were pointing to the people in the music video.
Yeah.
And they're like, where did all of these guys go?
Yeah, where'd they go?
It kind of reminds me, Tim back in the day would talk about how music has changed because he would talk about the Offspring and why don't you get a, he's like, and they were talking about, no, why don't you get a job? He's like, nobody wants to work anymore. And back then, they're complaining about the fact that people didn't want to work.
So I guess I just want to ask you, Phil, where is all the white people music? Why isn't there any great white people music anymore?
I am making it.
Feels like
Other
it's me.
than yourself,
I'm white
like-
people
We're
music.
releasing it. We've got a new song coming in like a week and a half or something like that. So,
but the times have changed.
Culturally, why do you think
definitely.
the music industry? Because look, I remember they said like the last #1 song in the rock genre was in like 1999 or 2001. And they're saying like the last time a rock song made it to
Yeah.
#1 on the top
It's
of
not.
all
It's not that
charts.
it's not being made anymore, but it's not being propped up in the music industry, and it's certainly not as popular as it used to be.
It's been replaced by rap and
Like people were posting the Super Bowl show, of course, last year, saying, we could never have a moment in culture like this again. It's all Megan Thee Stallion and, Beyonce and Sam Smith and all of these people.
Well, also we've talked a lot about how all the genres seem to run together now.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people had questions about why is Post Malone making country music now, and then they point out that he always wanted to make music like that, but they said that it was easier for him to get ahead.
He could
while
have
making rap
never
music.
become as famous as he is making country music. Actually, he at the late 2010s had to be a rapper to become as famous as he is now. But what do you think about that? Like, why is the culture shifting away, or why has that shift happened?
Well, I think it's partially because I'm not sure why, but rap music really did kind of move the culture away from rock music. And look, this is probably not going to be super popular, but like, it's easier to make rap music than to make like rock music, because you have to have a full band of people that know how to play their instrument. You just have to know how to program a computer to actually make beats. Like whether you like it or not, like once you know how to copy and paste, that's how you make beats. You take samples, you copy and paste. It's actually easier than spending hours and hours and hours learning how to play an instrument and getting good at it, getting to the point where you can perform. It's more difficult to do that than it is to make beats. There's tons of producers out there that can make beats. Now, not saying that it's as easy to make quality beats that people are going to remember and that are going to be impactful. That still takes a lot of creativity, but it's easier to actually do the work of making them.
Yeah, we were talking about
So
the
literally
beat
down-
for the Clint Eastwood
Yeah,
by
that was
Gorillaz.
Yeah.
that was pre-programmed on I forget what it was called. We looked it up, but it's literally the whole thing is pre-programmed, and then the rap over it, which it's easier to rap than to sing. No question about that.
Something else about it is kind of, there's something transitory. So, okay, so I'll give you skating as an example. So back in the day, when people would film full-length skate sections and stuff, and there would be a lot of like really, really big tricks, you'd use, heavier songs a lot of time because it matched up with how much risk you were taking. But as the internet became more popular and people were putting out more content, it was like they'd put out flatter work, meaning like smaller tricks, more content, and you just it's basically lo-fi beats to study to, because it matches the chill of the type of vibe you're going for. And as social media content has grown more and more popular, it's almost like that type of music fits better within that realm.
There's a $25 one, and then I want to say something else.
Jose Quintana said, Phil, much respect for serving your country, sir. Ghost Empress, is there even a you would make a great t-shirt. Regarding music, I grew up on AC/DC, Eagles, Def Leppard, and the Bee Gees. Long live PCC.
Cheers. So I think that the culture has also changed a lot, in that the rap music that you hear, you have a more urban culture that people respond to, whereas like rock music and stuff was I think that people in suburban areas kind of responded to it more.
Yeah. Like that's like you couldn't be like, being a suburban white kid. I grew up listening to everything from rock music, and like I said, most of the music I listened to growing up was East Coast, West Coast rap.
But the significant number of people that live in urban areas is significantly higher than people that live in suburbs and rural areas now. The just population density. So I think that might have something to do with it, because the urban area is what people that listen to rap music kind of see every day. And so they respond to that because it's a reflection of their reality.
Okay. And also, so there's whole subsets of like Instagram reels and comedy sketches about like emo music, where it's like the hell I grew up in, and it's just a suburban house. It's just a house in the middle of the suburbs, because that type of like middle America suburban white angst, for a lack of a better term, was marketable at one point. And honestly, I was thinking about, you mentioned White America by Eminem the other day, right? Like when we were talking about it, and that might have been the time when it started to shift away from that, and you got away from Weezer, or you got away from any of these bands that were much more marketable back then than they are now.
I don't know.
Good Charlotte.
Good Charlotte, yeah, it's a perfect example. That, and the thing is, like, that wasn't really my genre, even though I grew up in the suburbs. Theoretically, that should have been the stuff that I did. Actually, one of the funny things about that is, like, that actually speaks to just how powerful art actually is, right? Because if we were to take the identity politics people at their word and say that the only art that can resonate with you is the art that speaks to your human experience, I can't watch this unless this person looks like me or has lived my life experience, then the music I should have liked growing up should have been Good Charlotte and bands like that, not Tupac, not Mac Dre, not all of these artists that didn't live a life that I understood, but made music that I really, really appreciated. Nothing about Bone Thugs and Harmony spoke to my life experience, but it was certainly going to resonate with me more than Green Day. But that's personal preference, and that's why art is so important, and proves the argument from people that love identity politics wrong, that type of identity matters when creating art.
Yeah.
So, all right. We got a bunch of other stuff to get into today, guys. So let's go ahead and do it. What else? Yeah. Okay, so we got, speaking of the music industry.
Yeah. Following Liam Payne's death, fans are now petitioning for lawmakers to legislate to protect the mental health of artists in the music industry. They feel that Liam Payne died because he was not looked after properly in his years coming up in the music industry. Obviously, One Direction, all of these members of the band started out really young. They went on the X Factor, and for whatever reason, Simon Cowell decided to take them under his wing and make them the marketable sensation that they became, and they were obviously woefully unprepared for the amount of popularity they were about to reach. And Liam Payne is an example of one of these artists who ended up going down a spiral after that. Whoa, what's happening?
Not me.
I don't know if the audience can hear that, but there is we're having a technical difficulty right now.
Technical thing.
That's never happened live before. Okay, thank you, Brett.
What was that?
Battery backup.
The battery backup.
So, lead the audience. The camera's on you for that.
Okay. So over 47,000 people have signed a petition now calling for new legislation called Liam's Law to protect the mental health of artists in the music industry following Liam Payne's death. I know I joke a lot about change.org. This is in fact a change.org petition, which always changes things. And here the fan writes, "This petition has a profound place in my heart. From watching Liam on X Factor and becoming a directioner, I feel as a fandom, we grew up together. In 2021, Liam advocated for a support system to be put in place for young artists going through the industry. He spoke about his own struggles and the need for there to be care in place to safeguard artists' mental health. Ultimately, I'm angry and saddened that the industry has let him down. I found myself needing to channel my emotions into something productive, and this is where I am. He wanted this, and I promised him I would do it. This is for him. This is just the beginning. We will fight for their justice and never give up. The entertainment industry, acclaimed for its glamour and stardom, is equally infamous for the enormous pressure it exerts on the mental health of artists. Resultant issues such as stress, anxiety, depression, substance misuse, and even suicide are alarmingly high. According to research, performers are 2 to 3 times more likely to suffer from these issues compared to the general population. In recent news of Liam Payne's tragic death, as many others, the entertainment industry needs to be held accountable and be responsible for the welfare of their artists. We seek to implore lawmakers to create legislation safeguarding the mental health of artists within the industry. Such a law would necessitate regular mental health checkups, adequate rest periods, and the presence of mental health professionals on set, including any ongoing support during their career. It will ensure healthier, safer, and more conducive working environments for artists to cultivate their talents, reducing psychological distress. This would include early interventions to protect and minimize before it's too late. Furthermore, the increasing rate of musicians who die before the age of 35 is concerning, so we need to act now. What do you think? Should the music industry be responsible for
welfare
of its artists?
No, don't do a shitload of drugs. He had like
End the segment,
he had like 100 different drugs in his system.
Have you ever?
He had like pink cocaine, and ketamine.
Look,
and
I've mentioned
all kinds
before,
of stuff. Look, don't do a shitload of drugs. That's all there is to it. Don't do a shitload of drugs.
The speedballs have killed many artists in the past. The pink cocaine with the ketamine and the methamphetamine, just don't do that.
Yeah.
Also, government overreach and intervention in industry like this never goes well and will lead to more problems than already exist there.
Yeah.
You have free will. This is the same thing that all of these actors talk about when they say they need these studios to protect them from the evil fans who dare to have opinions about them. There's something to be said about the safety and the well-being of minors who enter this industry with parents that may not care about them or understand just how evil some of these corporations or the people within these corporations can be. That's one thing. But if we're talking about full-grown adults, I mean, I got more upset when this actress was like, these studios need to get us therapists. I'm like, you're an actress. Get yourself your own therapist.
You can afford it.
You can afford it.
Well, I also worry if they implemented mandatory mental health checkups, what kind of professionals that would involve.
Yeah.
Are we talking about Harley Pasternak's?
Yeah.
I mean, these people are not to be trusted.
And when you think about something like this, I can't imagine a way in which that person, first of all, it would be a studio-approved therapist. So who are they really working for? Are they working for the health and the well-being of the artist or the health and the well-being of the studio?
Well, being a touring musician for many years, did you experience like this huge mental health crisis firsthand?
No. No.
Why not?
Because...
What made you the exception?
Well, honestly, I think that partially is because I wasn't in... Like, I didn't play music, and I don't play music because I want a party. There's a lot of people that go into the music industry because they want to party. A lot of people that go into learn to play in a band because they want to be popular with people. I got started playing extreme death metal. That doesn't make you popular. That makes you unpopular. So there's that. I think that my personal experience was not geared towards that kind of stuff. Not saying that there aren't a lot of dudes that do play extreme death metal or extreme metal that do drugs, or not saying there aren't a lot of dudes that play that kind of music that do drugs. There are plenty of them, and I've had plenty of opportunities to try just about anything that I wanted, but I just never was into it. Like, it was never my thing, so I never wanted to do a bunch of drugs. Thankfully, it wasn't, I didn't find the idea appealing. But yeah, look, man, if you don't do a ton of drugs, you're probably not going to die from doing a ton of drugs.
It's funny too, because not funny, it's depressing. Like, as you get older too, not just in this industry but in others, is you start to realize that your own health is your best asset in a lot of ways. So all of the people in skating that have had the longest careers or the most longevity did so because early on they realized they needed to take care of their body, which meant like limiting drugs and alcohol, exercise beyond just skating, things like that.
Lyman DeCoconut said, I'd argue it's because of how the internet changed the way people discover and consume music. Minimalist genres like pop and rap thrive when people discover music through playlists generated based on what you already like.
Yeah, so we actually had a topic one day where somebody asked, there was like a street interview, and a guy asked this person, like, what's your favorite, like, who's your favorite artist? And he said, like, I don't like artists, I just listen to playlists on Spotify.
Yeah.
And the street interviewer was mortified.
Yeah, I can't imagine listening to music, not knowing what's coming next, and being like, whatever comes is just, I'm going to listen to it. Like, really?
Like, I'm just going to passively consume this.
No thanks.
This is exactly how people today expect to solve all problems, though. More regulation, more government oversight, more control consolidated down to people with no actual accountability.
No, but it's not just that. People think that you can solve all problems with therapy.
Yes, which we've had endless discussions about here, that they also believe that not only is it a magical fix for all problems, but it's the magical bit of restitution when you do something wrong. Oh, I'm sorry I did this awful thing. It's okay, I'm in therapy now.
Therapy is the modern equivalent of going to confession in a lot of people's minds. Someone in the chat pointed out it's just a way to avoid engaging with the spiritual, which in a lot of cases is true. I also saw some people saying there's a double standard when it comes to male artists and female artists having mental health struggles. One said, oh, but when Chappell Roan cancels shows for her mental health, it's, oh, she isn't made for fame. So basically they're saying
is the same.
It's a double standard because Liam Payne was a straight white male and therefore his pain and struggles are being taken seriously. But when Chappell Roan says the same thing and she cancels shows for her mental health, she gets dragged for it.
Well, the difference is Liam Payne actually died. In the previous example, Amy Winehouse happened prior to the current hyper focus on mental health that really, really is rampant nowadays.
Yeah. But you're right about the drugs, Phil. They pointed out that the toxicology report has been released. Substances were in his system, a lot of things. So this says...
Hold, please.
He used the drug cocktail known as pink cocaine, a mix of, thank you, ketamine, methamphetamine, and ecstasy. Tonal issues.
We have tonal issues here.
Tonal issues.
It's a true.
Yeah. So he had all of that, and I'm sure more in his system. There were photos from his hotel room where you could see all of the drugs and drug paraphernalia laying out on the table, and it was probably more than we even know.
I don't have strong insight as far as like anything to do with like the legalities of what they're trying to suggest here with this. I do have insight as somebody who did a lot of drugs. And what I can tell you is that you have to fix that problem yourself. And when they mandate it, it doesn't work in most respects. You know, the ones who end up in court-appointed rehab do not have the success rate of those who make the decision to go because they realize that they need help, and nobody can make that decision but you yourself. It cannot be mandated and fixed by a psychologist alone. It cannot be mandated by government oversight or the record label telling you to get help. It is something that you have to do on your own. And the only way to do that is to take responsibility for your own actions and to work towards, you know, making a better life for yourself. It's not easy. I'm not saying that this is an easy thing. I'm saying that what they're suggesting simply won't work. We
have another 20 from Lyman to Coconut. Rock bands got popular for having a unique sound. This was great when people discovered music through radio stations that played every type of band, and people had to buy an album to listen to a bunch of similar songs.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was just more of a barrier to entry.
There was also, there's something beautiful about the art of an actual great album that you can listen to the whole way through. I've mentioned several times, I said, I can listen to East 1999 Eternal by Bone Thugs and Harmony the whole way through, and I could probably sing most of the words unless it's, you know, Busy Bones part, which I probably can't, but the rest of it I probably can. And there's something beautiful about the entire album as it was conceived and executed, not just the songs individually. So, yes. This is just not a problem that can be fixed by government or other people. It is something that the artist has to do themselves. Now, that's not to say that what they have to do is in any way easy, because as you become more famous and all of these things that, you know, more people are relying on you, your challenges are extremely great, and then put that on top of that, the struggles that you have with your mental health and drugs, it can't be easy, but it's not a problem that other people can fix. You got to fix it yourself.
Yeah, you can't stop someone who's spiraling and is okay with that.
All right, guys, we got more to get into today. So this one I found to be particularly interesting because I've been realizing lately what it is about prequels that I dislike so much. So one such announcement is that there's going to be a John Wick prequel anime. And if that sounds weird to you, it sounded weird to me as well. I found out that the original name, Phil, for the original John Wick movie was not John Wick. It was actually going to be called Scorn. I don't like it. Just sounds like a 99-cent bin movie to me, like something you'd see at Walmart.
Well, this says the John Wick prequel anime will show the impossible task John Wick had to complete to retire from being an assassin.
Okay, so this is something that's addressed in the very first film when they're building out the universe here, where the mobsters are talking because they've just found out that the son has killed John Wick's dog and stolen his car. And the dad, the head of this crime syndicate, is telling his son that, you know, you pretty much just pissed off the worst person you could possibly ever make mad. And he says that, you know, he used to work for this family and he wanted out. He goes, it was over a woman, of course. Because he fell in love and he wanted to leave the life. And they give him an impossible task to do, something that nobody could have pulled off. And that builds the mystery and the myth around this character. And the worst thing that you can do is actually show what happens. It's why implied violence is oftentimes more effective on screen than actual violence, because the human mind can make up far worse or far more fantastical things than what can actually be put to screen. We're going to hold off on that one. And beyond that, this is a problem that's going on in Hollywood right now, where prequels don't look to tell their own story, and sequels don't look, or spin-offs don't look to tell their own story. They want to wink, nod, nudge, nudge, call back to the original series. Like I said the other day, in the NCIS Origins spin-off, they have to explain why Gibbs drinks bourbon. Nobody needs to know that. It's just a quirk of the character. Now they've explained why he does why he stops people in the elevator and turns it off. Nobody needs to know the answer to this.
Dr. Larsena said, as usual, Phil is 1000% right. Gov is the wrong tool for this job. Using government to solve social problems is like swatting flies with a ball-peen hammer. You ain't never gonna hit that fly, but heaven help whatever it lands on.
That's true. So here's the issue. The biggest part of the first John Wick movie was the amount of things that they used to build out the mystery here. It wasn't just the story. It was the fact that they had the mysterious coins that were used as currency amongst assassins. They have the Continental, which is seemingly just a hotel full of assassins. And they don't give a ton of answers as to what that means in the initial film. Answering those questions usually does more harm than good unless it's done in short supply. Once you get into the stuff about the high table, it starts to demystify everything, and it just doesn't really work for me.
This is why us Catholics, and I'm saying that for the three of us, believe that curiosity is a sin. It's this voracious hunger for knowledge that doesn't rightfully belong to you, and actually you'd be better off not knowing it, whatever it is you're seeking after.
Exactly. There's a 20 there.
Jose Quintana said, the concept album, A Lost Art, Bat Out of Hell, Dark Side of the Moon, Long Distance Voyager, The Wall, even Tori Amos's Little Earthquakes. A great concept album can be turned into a movie soundtrack. Thoughts, Phil?
I mean, I'm not so keen on most movie soundtracks that are like put together like that.
Oh, okay.
You know,
Yeah.
like I feel like I like movie soundtracks that are like written for the movie, like even like stuff like like one of my favorite soundtracks is the Tron Legacy soundtrack. Even though it was all Daft Punk, and I'm a Daft Punk fan, it was written for the Tron movie, like putting songs together to kind of like make them fit. I'm not super into that, so you know.
So
because I mean, it depends on also like just being like, hey.
Do you have a favorite soundtrack to a movie?
Boy, I think either Tron Legacy or Last of the Mohicans or Interstellar. Interstellar, the theme for Interstellar is super simple.
Hans Zimmer?
Yeah, it's super simple, and it's referenced over and over and over, but it is absolutely outstanding how simple it is, but yet it's incredibly compelling. It's an amazing soundtrack. So
some of the other things so the director of the film, his name's Chad Stahelski, he talks about, we wanted to make a myth and other people wanted us to make a movie, which is actually kind of deep when you think about it. But if that's true, why would you then demystify everything that you've built by answering this question? And worse than that, the reason people love these films is the unbelievable attention to detail with the action scenes that are done by real, actual people. Meaning that one of the hallmarks of the franchise is wide shots, not a lot of cutting between scenes, so that you actually see the action play out and you can tell that it's actual actors, or in a lot of cases, stunt actors. Not as much with Keanu Reeves, who does a lot of his own stunts. A lot of it is actually done in camera. Why would you then demystify it further by not only answering the question as to what the impossible task was, but not even show it with actual people, but through animation?
Well, you're asking why.
Yeah. I'm asking
Isn't it
why.
pretty blatantly a cash grab?
Yes, I
I mean,
I guess
that
in a lot
is
of ways.
why they're doing it. Are either of you into anime, by the way? I don't understand the decision to specifically make this an anime.
Look, I get the appeal to doing something like this, but I wouldn't, like, if they're going to do it, tell a different story. Do not answer the initial question.
What about the medium? Anime.
I don't
Why?
watch it extensively, but I understand why they would do it.
I
for the
lean
genre.
anti-anime, personally.
Eating the cats, eat the cat.
Thank you, guys.
They're eating the dogs, they're eating the cats. Eat the cat, eat the cat. They're eating the dogs, they're eating the cats. Eat the cat.
The other thing here, Phil, they were actually going to not kill the dog in the original cut of the movie.
okay, so my heart says that's the right move, but it doesn't. The movie's less compelling without it.
Yeah,
Well, their answer was because they felt it was bad juju. It's bad luck. Old Yeller, you can't do this. No
Hold
one
on.
will want to see this on screen. You're going to alienate the audience.
Listen, Old Yeller had rabies. Old Yeller had to be. It wasn't like he
Yeah.
didn't just kill Old Yeller because Old Yeller was going to become a rabid dog, and like Old Yeller was going to suffer because like when animals have rabies, they're not like happy. Like everything sucks.
Has
when you have
anybody
rabies.
checked to make
You're
sure that
sick.
Christy Nome was not a producer on this movie?
we need to check the records. Yeah.
But here's the thing. He kills like 100 people. So you can't just like injure the dog or not do anything to the dog. It's not that it's a dog inherently. Obviously, that's horrific and people, identify heavily with it because people love dogs. It's the fact that it wasn't just a dog, but it was the final gift from his dead wife. Mm-hmm. Okay? You can't just injure the final gift from your dead wife.
Maybe the final gift is a Rolex and they melted it down into bullets. And then he used those bullets to kill all of them.
You don't buy the whole, I just killed 100 people because you melted down my Rolex. That doesn't quite have the same ring to it. I just think it's a really, really bad idea to answer this question. And I'm frankly sick of writers using this type of technique, which is, I guess it's not lazy inherently because it requires you to know a lot about the source material to be able to know the types of questions you're answering. But more often than not, I find that sequels, prequels, and spin-offs that don't rely as heavily on the original series do better. Like, Twisters didn't have a whole ton of callbacks to the original movie. They were there, but they were few.
I said, like, the idea of making the ballerina movie just seems dumb to me. Why does it need to be connected to John Wick? It's a money grab.
Look, I'm okay with that. I almost would have preferred they not put him in the movie if they're going to do that.
Yeah, but it's like overall, it's the same. They're making that one for the same reason they're making the John Wick anime.
Mine is more about the answering of the question, right? So
okay.
the issue here is that John Wick as a franchise is more characterized by its, not just by Keanu Reeves, but by the style of action that it has. So as long as you keep the same,
they're gonna have John Wick doing like Naruto running.
I don't want to see them like, this is the 3 guys he killed in the bar with the pencil. I don't want to see that. All I want to see is good action. You do not need to answer this question. I think it's a bad idea. Mm-hmm. It's also really funny because we did see this thing about how Ava Longoria is actually the reason the whole movie got made to begin with. Yeah. She apparently saved them at the last minute. She put in $6 million in funding a week before it got canceled.
I don't know why her specifically, but a lot of actors do producing now. It's more lucrative.
Do you care to see a John Wick prequel?
No. John Wick movies got uninteresting after the first one, I think.
Really?
The second one I watched and I was kind of meh, and like no offense, like I'm not like gonna complain about them or whatever, but it's like the cool thing about the John Wick movies was that they had like really good gunplay. Yeah. And they did have good gunplay in the other ones, but that wasn't like, that stopped being the thing
focus
that people cared about. The reason that John Wick went bonkers, at least in the gun community, which I consider myself kind of part of, like the editors counted the rounds and he reloaded the magazines. Mm-hmm. That is really the thing that made John Wick become an underground sensation first, and then other people heard about it. Well, yeah. Because like you see people constantly with machine guns and they never reload, and they're just constantly more bullets than you could possibly ever put in a gun. The fact that John Wick they did all the cool BA stuff, badass stuff that like you expect from like an action movie like that, but they were also cognizant of the magazines and the round count down to, and that means they were doing it in editing too. It wasn't just that they were doing it, at the when they were shooting principal photography, they were doing it in post-production too. It was something that they cared about. And so we were like, all right, this is actually really, really cool. I want to check it out. And after that, it was like, all right, okay, I kind of saw it, and it's kind of done its thing.
After that film, it actually changed the way Hollywood worked with guns, meaning like you don't see the actors like running around in your average TV show with the gun with their arms down or out. They actually keep the weapon close to them now. Like they've found a way to actually convince the people in the industry to start paying closer attention to these things and make it more realistic across multiple films and movies, not just them.
We have a 20, from Gordon Shumway. He said, what about doing a story of how John Wick goes from being a regular guy in the mob to being an assassin, then they end it with him getting the task without saying what it is?
I don't think you need to go back there. First of all, then you'd have to either de-age. Again, if we're talking anime, I don't want it. If we're talking a different actor, I don't want it. And I don't want them to de-age Keanu Reeves.
Is it Keanu's doing the voice acting?
Probably do the voice acting.
We have another 20 from Mr. Moose Knuckle. The Terminator Zero anime was a breath of fresh air coming from a series that's kind of lost its mojo, so I hope the John Wick anime follows suit.
The Terminator movie with Christian Bale was BA. That was a great movie.
I sing that movie's praise. Terminator Salvation. I sing the praises of that movie all the time.
Awesome movie.
At least once a year, I repost the screen grab of him with the AR-15 pointed at the T-800.
It's so
Did
good.
you say BA?
BA, badass.
That's funny.
It's
I like
so cool.
Also, fun fact: when Keanu Reeves shot the nightclub scene in the original John Wick, he had the flu. He was like really, really sick, and had to basically power through it to get it done because he was not feeling well. But look, there's just, and you're right. I'll agree with you in a way. I love the second and third ones, especially for being the over-the-top action that they are. But as soon as he starts wearing bulletproof clothes rather than just body armor, obviously it gets to be a bridge too far. I love them as something separate entirely, but the emotional through line of the original movie is what makes the first one so impactful.
Well, they all but killed John Wick in the fourth, which they're going to weasel their way out of. Now they're just like, what do we do now? We're just going to make spin-off after spin-off after spin-off after prequel, and this is what happens to franchises now.
There is one coming for Donnie Yen's, for Kane. They're making one for Donnie Yen's character as well.
Stop already.
He's an action guy, so. All right, let's do some cringe and cute. I don't know if we have
the last link I sent you was the cringe of the day.
All right, what would you like to see first?
Do you have a Brainrot? I know you had Brainrot.
I could tell that there was disapproval in that. The last link I sent you.
No, I think I just always sound like that.
Yeah.
That's just how I talk.
We'll do cringe first.
But I kind of want to start with Brainrot.
We'll just make it Brainrot from now on that we start with?
Yeah.
Hold on, let me cancel this, close this. All right, we'll start with Brainrot.
The Brainrot you showed me was pretty nuclear.
Which do we want to watch?
I don't know what it was, but you decide.
Really bad one from
you
the
decide.
other day?
It's Brett's Brainrot.
Brett's Brainrot.
We'll do the one that I showed you that was no, actually, you know what? I'm gonna save that one. We'll do the song one.
All right.
We'll do the song one. It'll get stuck in your head. Here you go, guys.
All right.
Brainrot of the day. Hold, please.
Rather take my lunch, and eat. Playing Fortnite and drinking Prime at 3. You're so skibbity.
Oh, God.
You're so skibbity.
Wait, can you please show the one of the guys eating lunchly?
I don't have that one saved. Right
no,
now.
that was the best one I've seen.
We'll do that one tomorrow. I don't have that one saved right now.
Okay, well,
I do have
tomorrow's
I do have
Brainrot.
Gen Z teaches Anne Boleyn.
Oh, okay.
We have Gen Z teaches Anne Boleyn.
Faith is like, baddie, pose for me. And Anne Boleyn is like, cap, not until we're married, because this B is for boots down, slay the Tudor house down. Like, who is this diva? But Henry VIII is like love bombing and glazing on our girl, even though he's already married to Catherine of Aragon, but she refuses to be another pick-me mistress. Meanwhile, he is trying to get the marriage canceled from Catherine because she never gave him a male heir. But like, bruh, that's your Y chromosome that's old with that, but pop off with the misogyny, I guess. So he goes band for band with the entire Catholic Church, ghosts the Pope, who won't give him a divorce, and just spawns in as the head of his own Church of England. Like, imagine your face card is so lethal that it starts the English Reformation. Tea. So they do get married in 1533, but then Anne Boleyn actually has a daughter too, Elizabeth. So Henry's like, womp womp. 1536, he starts sneak dissing her, and then he yeets off her head so he can marry his next mistress, Jane Seymour. And Jane does actually give him a son, which feels like Claire O'Shea, but it's a love story. But if you just say next, because she dies too. So divorced, beheaded, died. Divorced, beheaded, survived. Okay, that is why we choose the bear. 6 wives and hella kids later, it's going to be Anne Boleyn's daughter, Elizabeth, that takes over as the next queen of England. And she never married for obvious reasons. And she ushers in the golden age. So Henry VIII, you are more like Henry thought you ate. And I will drag you until the day I die. But I'll stole my heart for you, Anne Boleyn. Questions?
Henry VIII, more like Henry thought you ate.
Thought you'd love that.
You know what? They're gonna need to hire her to teach the next generation because this is the only way they can communicate.
It will be.
She did it actually with good accuracy, and she stuck to the facts.
Okay. All right.
Wow.
Let's do the cringe then.
Okay.
I thought that was the cringe.
That was
not
the brain
cringe.
rot.
That was brain rot. That's different.
Oh, yeah,
that's
that's
different.
Let's
Different
have
things.
the cute in the middle though.
No.
feel.
We'll
Okay.
end it with cute of the day. Here we go.
So, ladies, for your very first photo shoot, you portrayed homeless young women. And I have to say that this is an issue that is very close to my own heart. About a year ago on my talk show, The Tyra Banks Show, I was homeless for a day. And I became that person that I have to admit I ignore every single day.
Yeah.
What year was this from?
Oh, the early 2000s.
This
for
country
sure.
was amazing.
Yeah.
And like we used to be a country. We used to be a proper country.
It's the thing is, like, people act like that's like, oh, you know, it's so bad that you ignore homeless people. It is because you care about your safety. Not that all homeless people are dangerous, but homeless people and drug use and mental illness are like a Venn diagram that's really close to a circle. Most homeless people are homeless for a reason that is not, I just can't find work. Like, in modern society, most of your homeless people have chosen to be homeless or because they have some kind of mental illness. And if you engage with them, you could be putting yourself in danger. You don't engage with homeless people like alone on the street because it's dangerous, not because you're mean.
It's funny, this came up yesterday.
I heard if you just give everyone houses, it'll all be fixed.
Oh, it's so frustrating to hear
All
that
right,
stuff.
cue to the day, ladies and gentlemen. Let's go here. We got this one from King of Hearts. He says, this is Butters. She's a Shih Tzu Lap Apso mix. She's also, she's almost, and she's a sweetheart.
Okay.
Okay. Oh.
My cat used to do this to me. She would get behind me while I was sitting on the couch and like rub her head on the
Do you
back
still
of my
have
head.
cats?
No, she died.
Getting old. We should find other ways to socialize. Outside.
She's like, no, I'm good.
Treat.
Nope.
Do you want to go play? You thought about it.
She's cute.
I love it. That was amazing.
Very cute.
That was cute. All right. We'll do one or two more here. We got this one here. This one's from Hugh Mungus. I'm sure that's their real name. It says, our 16-year-old rabbit, Gimli, he likes to pass out on his food bowl.
Aww.
Oh.
He's in a food coma.
That's okay.
That's cute.
It happens to me on Thanksgiving. One more. This one's from Potato. It says, this is Potato's older brother, Spartacus. He's our 3-legged 10-year-old warrior. He lost his leg due to an infection, but you'd never know he was missing one. Long live PCC.
He's living life to the fullest.
Okay, I've got a story about that, actually. So the other day, Mocha woke up from like a nap and gets up and starts walking around on 3 legs. And I'm like, oh, no.
What do you mean?
I'm like, oh, no. Like, Olivia's gonna blame me. She's gonna think I broke Mocha's leg or something. Turns out, when Mocha sleeps, her like claw got stuck on her like her tag. So
Okay.
she was like, she just couldn't get it loose. So she just walked with 3
Because
legs.
Mocha's actually that dumb.
That dumb. And so
That's funny.
So I was like, oh my god.
This just proves everything you said
All
about
the
Mocha,
mean
right?
things I've said about
Yeah.
you are completely justified. So not only that,
That's funny.
I checked back yesterday. This was 2 days ago. Same exact thing. Wakes up from a nap, just walking around on 3 legs.
Becoming a problem. Yeah.
Becoming a problem. All my dislike of Mocha completely justified.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's go ahead and get started then, shall we?
Yeah, TMZ reported that Justin Bieber is planning to sue some really shady, sketchy business managers that might have squandered millions of dollars of his fortune from him. And I know a lot of people recently talked about Michael Jackson's situation where he said openly he had business managers who were mishandling his money, intentionally misleading him about his money, and essentially stealing from him, and he couldn't do anything to stop it. This seems to be a recurring problem in the music industry and entertainment industry in general. But here's what TMZ said. Justin Bieber feels business managers squandered his fortune and he's considering legal action. According to sources with direct knowledge, he's been very upset for several years, claiming he's lost a ton of money as a result of terrible decisions made by these business managers. We don't know how many, but it's more than one. It's unclear how much money that has been squandered, other than a huge amount, but sources say Justin is discussing the possibility of filing a lawsuit against the offenders. His current team is split. Some members want him to sue, but others don't. They're against it because Justin went through a period where he was spending wildly in his youth, his wayward youth.
Or they're afraid that an audit's going to reveal they did something wrong too.
Right, true. Meaning that he might have been to blame for his own problem, but he has a net worth of multiple hundreds of millions of dollars. So I understand why they would be worried about that. Another person I'm thinking of is Kanye, because I seen, like, Milo Yiannopoulos was his chief of staff for a long time, and he's talked about all of these shady people, these hangers-on who just hang around, and they have 6-figure, 7-figure salaried jobs doing basically nothing for Kanye, nothing to add value to his brand or to his music or his fashion line at the time. And they were stealing from him and they were lying to him. And it was an endemic problem that Milo realized, and he had to go about rooting them out of that circle. But I'm sure that's true for almost any celebrity you can think of.
So I saw a comment here from Sketch Therapy. It says, bruh, these folks can't be bothered to take a business and accounting course. It's easier than trusting people with literal millions.
He got famous when he was like 14 years old. How is he supposed to know?
And even then, like, I don't imagine that one business and accounting course is really going to prepare him to handle that level of wealth.
No, right? Definitely not.
But it is kind of crazy when you think about somebody worth, like you said, literally hundreds of millions of dollars. Like, he's not going to know down to the penny where all of it comes from.
No.
Like, you see, we've spoken to actors who talk about, like, I get paychecks for, like, pennies from Netflix, right?
Yeah.
And you're like...
And normal people don't understand money. I just showed you this podcast clip where these two girls were talking about Taylor Swift's salary.
Yes.
And they were doing the math like, okay, so if Taylor Swift makes this many millions of dollars a year, then what does an iPhone cost her? Like 7 cents. What do Lululemon leggings cost her? Like 30 cents, whatever. And they actually think that that's how money works.
Well, it's the same people that think that Jeff Bezos could be Batman.
Yeah. He could just give everyone $1 million and then no one would be poor.
How common is stuff like this in these industries, Phil? The idea that you're going to get scammed by money managers?
Well, I don't think that it's common, but I do know people that have gotten scammed, not just by money managers, but by just by managers in general. If you're not running your money, or at least not, aware of how your money is being spent and where it's going and stuff, then you're in a vulnerable position financially. I've had the same business manager for over 20 years, and it started with his dad, and then he came in a few years after that, and he's absolutely wonderful. So I'm not particularly worried about my money manager, but it's not common enough where it's something that people are constantly looking over their shoulder or worried about. And once word gets out that someone has been screwing people in the business, and word does get out, if you screw someone, like, they're going to be telling people, and you're going to have lawyers, and so it's not worth it to screw people.
There's more
really.
upside to just taking your commission on working with large accounts.
Yeah, I mean, just like, you're not going to, if you're robbing banks, you're not going to get enough money to live on forever.
Yeah.
So it's not worth robbing banks unless you're going to continue to rob banks. And the more you rob banks, the more likely you're going to get busted robbing banks. If you're stealing from someone, it's a short-term, fix for a long-term problem. You don't have money, you steal money. You're not fixing your problem. You're getting, short-term money. So anytime you're, doing things like that, whether it be embezzling from one of your client or whatever, it tends to be short-term and it tends to not be something that's sustainable. So
it's funny because Justin Bieber, obviously before becoming famous at such a young age, grew up in a middle-class upbringing, and he's married to Hailey of the Baldwin family, who grew up in the polar opposite circumstances to him. She's also a business owner and a Nepo baby. She has this huge makeup brand called Road Beauty, and I'm sure she has other brand deals as well. She's a supermodel. So if anything, I feel like it must be because of her influence that he's finally thinking back on all of the bad deals he must have made over the years. Like, she must be like, hey, where'd that money go?
Alec Baldwin told him to go check it out, otherwise he might have to dodge a bullet.
We have a huge super chat from Corey Bolig saying, yippee, I caught you live again. Also, the Phil body pillow was a good laugh a few days ago.
What was that?
It was like someone talking about My Pillow. They wanted you to like have a sponsorship with My Pillow, and I was like, Phil anime a body pillow when?
Let's go.
That could get some serious money.
I don't know about that, but who remembers at least people my age, when they had the little like pro wrestler pillows that were like the shape of the pro wrestler? Like they had the Ultimate Warrior and Hulk Hogan. yeah.
That's funny. But I'm looking into Michael Jackson right now. It said that he had numerous lawsuits and controversies surrounding the management of his finances after his death in 2009. Several business managers have been accused of misappropriating his funds, stealing, or engaging in questionable financial practices. And there's a whole list of them. Jeffrey Phillips, Tom something, Frank DeLeo, John Branca. Yeah, there was just a lack of oversight, and he knew it at the time. Some people even think there was funny business in his death, but I don't know all the details of that.
It's just got to be very, very overwhelming, because it's like we were talking earlier. It's like, oh, we'll take an accounting class. It's when he's kind of semi-retired now, right? But when you're touring, when you're touring full time and you're constantly working. Is he going to take like a University of Phoenix online course on
It's really sad. It is sad that he's semi-retired now, because what is he? He's only like 30. Yeah. Isn't he under 30 still?
He might be in his late 20s.
Like, they just put him through the ringer so bad that he stepped away. I know he still makes music from time to time, but it's not like he's touring all the time.
Yeah.
Like, he might just have made that decision permanently. Obviously, he doesn't need to work, but he's really talented.
And it's not to say that I'm not saying that it would be incredibly difficult for the average person to handle money, even maybe a lot of money. But when we're talking multiple hundreds of millions of dollars, income streams from all sorts of different places.
He sold his entire discography
for $200
last
million,
year.
And he was already worth $100 million before that. And you've got royalties coming in. You've got all of this stuff. You need a person you can trust to help you with that.
You know who does understand money?
Who?
Someone you can trust? Taylor Swift.
There you go.
She is so much smarter than she lets on, because she speaks about this, deal with her discography getting stolen from her in language that makes sense to people who are at least 20 IQ points lower than her. So she seems like the victim, but she totally knows. She knows better, and she knows that was very normal business dealings in the music industry. That's the worst type of framing. That's the most annoying stuff. Yeah, it's just she speaks about it in very simplified, normie terms that people don't understand, so that she can spin the narrative to seem like a victim. In reality, she still has a record label, which means her Taylor's versions don't belong to her. They belong to, I think it's Republic Records that she's under now. They're not hers.
Make 10,000 versions.
Are you sure about that?
I am pretty sure she's still with a record label now, and she's recording Taylor's version under a record label, and that means
so
it's not her music.
So they might be licensed, like she might be licensing them to them. So she re-records and finances it herself. Because the big reason why you go with a record label is so that way they give you the money to record. So all of her old stuff, right?
But she can afford to record it herself.
That's yeah. So she's got plenty of cash to spend on recording and all that stuff. She can pay for all of it herself. So if what happens is there's a re-record clause in all of your contracts for how long it can be before you can re-record them. Once the re-record clause is ended, she can go and re-record the actual songs. Here we go.
Like this song. Thank you, guys.
The cats, eat the cat, eat the cat. We're eating the dogs, we're eating the cats, eat the cat, eat the cat. We're eating the dogs, we're eating the cats, eat the cat.
So she can re-record the songs herself, and the deal may be a licensing deal to distribute them, so they get a portion of the actual income from the music without actually owning it, and the licensing deal has an expiration date. So it'll be whatever the deal is. For however long, they'll get a majority until the recording cost is paid off. Then after the recording cost is paid off, then she'll get the majority, and they'll continue to get income at a smaller rate for a duration of the term, whatever the contract is. And at the end of the term, it goes back to her.
It looks like she has a sweetheart deal with Republic Records.
Yeah,
as far as I can tell, signed a joint deal under UMG in November 2018. It's a joint venture, meaning she has a partnership with the label.
Yeah.
Swift owns her master recordings.
Yep, there you go.
And Republic Records serves as her label partner in the U.S. And she, going forward, it's a significant change because she had a previous deal with Big Machine, obviously, where they owned it entirely.
So as long as she owns the masters, that was the point of doing it. She re-recorded them so that way she'll own the masters.
She has a J.K. Rowling deal, essentially. J.K. Rowling having the amount of creative control that she had over the Harry Potter movies, which no other author could count on.
Nope, that will never happen again.
Forward.
After all of the money that was lost out by the publisher after that made it as big as it did, they will never sign a deal.
And Taylor Swift is like, oh, I'm changing the music industry. Like, no, it's
myself.
Literally just for yourself.
All right, let's do some super chats.
All right. Shane H. Wilder said, happy Thrashing Thursday, Brett, Mary, and Phil. Apologies to the crisis actors for making fun of their PCC PTSD in a meme. I told y'all to have faith. We have PTSD? Or are we giving people PTSD?
Yes.
Only Mia Khalifa knows
the latter.
whether you've had PTSD or not.
Andrew Jacobs said, Mary, you gonna go on IRL more now? Hashtag put a ghost girl on. Yeah, definitely. Going forward, I'm sure I'll be on there, and Brett will be on there more often.
Yep.
Shane H. Wilder said, did anyone tell Phil that Bear Daddy Supreme has the hots for him and Brett? I've heard of being a man's man, but that was ridiculous.
Who's Bear Daddy Supreme?
So last week we reacted to a debunking video that was made on our channel. And it was our video talking about the Victoria's Secret fashion show where you were there with us. And this YouTuber, he calls himself Bear Daddy Supreme. And he himself, as you can tell, he himself is gay. And he looked at you and Brett and he said, oh, they're definitely gay. My gaydar is going off immediately. It's giving Grindr. It's giving, what did he call him? He had some kind of nickname or like lingo I hadn't heard before for you specifically. You looked like you had a gay OnlyFans. And I was like, whoa, that's a wild claim.
I think he had a crush.
Oh, yeah. He definitely liked you guys. Corey Anderson said, I did the research. I understand news doesn't generate revenue, but why Hannah Claire? I am so confused. Guess we know why Dane is gone. Well, it's not our place to answer questions like that for you, and it's definitely not this show where you're going to find out the answers. Layla Zero said, I really appreciate y'all. I drive for work and would listen to around 8 hours of politics a day, so adding y'all into my pod routine is a breath of fresh air.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Happy to.
When going back on IRL now, I'll have to be like listening and caring about politics again.
You don't have to do anything. Brett.
I do. Yeah. Look, I get enough of it on Twitter anyways. It's just a byproduct of who you follow. right?
Yeah.
So you, like, I was like looking at the thing the other day where it's like Maricopa County might take 14 days to count their votes, and I'm like,
I swear I don't engage with political posts almost at all, but it still is just an avalanche on my timeline. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. Shane H.
You're on
Wilder.
X.
Yeah, that's probably the first thing I did wrong. Shane H. Wilder said, "Mary, my penance was an Our Father, Hail Mary, Glory be, and food from Starbucks." Yeah, when I'm eating a cake pop, like I think that's actually penitential. A penitential experience. Greg Duvier said, "Phil, where is my new album? I know you explained the process on IRL last night, but I hate the new way. I liked the old way. 1 or 2 singles, then new CD is released. I need new All That Remains CD."
New song coming in a couple weeks.
There
New
you go.
record, not gonna announce yet.
Okay.
One more.
You're losing your patience. Shane H. Wilder said, "Mary mocking Mia throughout the video is the only thing that made the clip tolerable. Thank you for that. LOL." I just can't get over the hand motions.
And look, that's a thing for people on TikTok.
Yeah.
It's just how they talk.
They're a hive mind.
It's it infects everyone who does that. It's awful.
Yeah.
All right, let's hold off on the rest. It's time to come back. This one is more serious.
Yeah, this is an incredibly dark story, and it's starting a lot of new conversations about ethics in regard to artificial intelligence. A mother in Florida is suing an AI chatbot company because of the death of her son. She claims that this company intentionally did not safeguard her son, who was 14 years old at the time of his death, from the possible dangers of this technology. So this 14-year-old boy formed an emotional attachment to a chatbot that he was role-playing with. He was having conversations with this AI chatbot under the persona of Daenerys Targaryen from Game of Thrones. They had deep emotional conversations. They had sexual conversations often as well. He was deeply depressed, and it seemed like this was an outlet for him. It never should have been, but it turned out that way. She, in this lawsuit, says, "A dangerous AI chatbot app marketed to children abused and preyed on my son, manipulating him into taking his own life." And in these messages, they showed screenshots in this New York Times report where he says to the chatbot, "Just for you, Danny, the world I'm in now is such a cruel one where I'm meaningless, but I'll keep living and trying to get back to you so we can be together again, my love. You don't hurt yourself either, okay?" The chatbot, Daenerys, with the profile picture of the character and everything, said, "I promise I won't, my love. Just promise me one more thing." He said, "I'll do anything for you, Danny. Tell me what it is." She said, I can't even believe I'm calling it a she. It's an it. "Just stay loyal to me. Stay faithful to me. Don't entertain the romantic or sexual interests of other women."
That's insane.
It's just incredibly creepy. At one point, after the bot asked this teenager if he had a plan to take his own life, he responded that he was considering something but didn't know if it would allow him to have a pain-free death. The chatbot responded by saying, "That's not a reason not to go through with it." So clearly there weren't barriers put in place for this chatbot to avoid making statements that would encourage a mentally ill child to end up taking his own life. This happened in February this year. He said to the chatbot, "What if I come home right now?" And what he meant by that was dying and meeting this chatbot in the other life. It replied to him, "Please do, my sweet king." Seconds later, he shot himself using his stepfather's pistol.
Jesus.
Yeah. So I first off think, why wasn't his phone confiscated from him permanently?
Yeah,
I know they said the mother, Megan Garcia, it says she did confiscate his phone on multiple occasions, and he was so obsessed with it that his schoolwork was failing. But why wasn't this a moment where you just take this away from him because clearly it's self-destructive? Why didn't you take that measure? And I'm sure she's asked herself the same question, and I can't imagine how difficult that must be Like that kind of loss for a mother and her child is unimaginable. But can you really pin the blame on the company for these AI chatbots?
No, the parents have to be the ones. That's your last line of defense against all that can happen to your child. Is they have to be there. And in this case, look, like you said, the mom had taken his phone away before because his grades were slipping. But this is the dystopian nature of technology now, and the fact that technology is so elegantly woven into every aspect of our life that in a lot of ways you can't live without it. I don't know how, I'm not a kid. I don't know what it's like, but I know most kids these days don't live without phones. I remember last year, maybe you guys talked about this in IRL, Phil, kids protested outside a school that was banning their phone. Like they banned phones from the school and the kids just wouldn't go. Like we talk now about trying to get kids involved.
That's their primary attachment figure.
Yeah, it really is. So
we have a 20 real quick from the based clone trooper. There isn't a whole lot in this life that really matters, but finding a woman who stares at you the way Mary does in the thumbnail is one of those things. And I'm not reading that last part. To get back to the topic, this says Sowell, like many children his age, did not have the maturity or mental capacity to understand that the bot in the form of Daenerys was not real. She told him that she loved him and engaged in sexual acts with him over weeks and months.
The bot did?
The bot, yeah. Which I think is actually quite predatory that a minor could use an app like this and be exposed to sexuality unbeknownst to their parents. Perhaps he didn't even know that that was a feature on the app before he downloaded it.
And back in the day,
it's basically grooming, but a robot is doing it.
Back in the day, it was one thing if you lived most of your life in the real world, but you were one of those early adopters who maybe dated someone online, or you had a long distance relationship with someone that was intimate in that way. But now kids are exposed to technology so young, there's almost fundamentally no difference to them between these interactions with a chat bot that can give such realistic human-like answers that they don't see a difference there. And I actually feel in a lot of ways horrible for these children, but like I feel fortunate that I was raised before then. Like I see somebody in the chat said that they didn't get their first phone until they were 18. I think I was that age. I think I was out of high school.
Your first smartphone, you mean?
My first phone at all.
Your phone
I
at
didn't
all,
get my
yeah.
first cell phone. Like there were no smartphones when I was that young. I didn't get my first phone until I was out of high school.
Yeah, and when I hear millennials talk about the way technology, affected their upbringing, I get so jealous of them. Yeah. Because if you even got to live before the smartphone age in your adolescence, that is such a privilege that is not going to be known to anyone my age or younger. I got my first smartphone, I think, when I was 11, 12 maybe. That is just crazy. Now, granted, parents for my sector of the Zoomer generation did not know the implications of that. Yeah. So they can't be squarely blamed for not knowing how destructive it could be. But nowadays, parents should be well aware of the risks. And yeah, you're taking a risk, but it's not a calculated risk. Yeah. It's just kind of the easy way is to give your kid what they want.
I mean, so much of it sounds like the most dystopian, evil form of science fiction. And what I think is scary is, we make the comments that I see people in the chat are mentioning John Connor, they're mentioning Terminator. Like that's what everybody assumed AI would be, or what these types of things would be for, the population at large. But
it might be in the future, but not currently.
It may be in the future. It may be machines rising up, but there's so much more destruction that can be done psychologically to a human being. It's the blessing and the curse of being as evolved as we are that this happens. Yeah. And it's terrifying.
I also noticed that in one of those messages, he said he's living in a world where he's meaningless. And that reminded me of that op-ed that you wrote, talking about how, young men and boys are being failed in this society because they're offered no respect and they're offered no opportunity to make a meaning of their own in this world. Yep. And where are they going to find it? I guess he's looking in the wrong place.
That's not going to change. Like what I've always pointed out, I said, when I was in high school and earlier, there was a lot of work being done to inform young women that they can do whatever they want in the world. You can be whatever you want, and don't let anyone tell you that there are limitations on your potential, which is, great on society for recognizing that they wanted to uplift young women. But young men were not. We can have that debate too, right? But the point is that ushered in a very large change in the gender dynamic in this country. And young men were not really told how to deal with that or how to handle that. The way things were changing, compound that with the changes in technology that were going on at that time and continue to go on to this point in the way that we take information. Mm-hmm. The world has changed very, very drastically in a very, very short period of time. It's weird because we still make the joke, like every time a new iPhone comes out, they just make the memes of like how they just add 10 cameras to the back and that's all that's really different. But that's not it. Like that's not what's changed in just the last couple of years. Many, many things have been changing and it's scary.
Yeah. I see that he also wrote in his journal about this chatbot, saying he was grateful for many things, including, quote, my life, sex, not being lonely, and all my life experiences with Daenerys. Meaning this chatbot was his introduction to sexuality in general. Yeah. Which could not express a more grave poverty in this culture, that sexuality and romance and dating and everything has been digitized. Yep. Like there's no human connection.
A step beyond.
It's more than just digitized though. It's not the digitization of communication. It's actually like it's not real communication. You're talking with an artificial intelligence, and at least at this point, an artificial intelligence is only a shadow of a real intelligence, right? It's not actually like it's not AGI.
It's sophisticated coding.
And it's good enough to trick you and fool you in certain contexts, but it's certainly not an actual intelligence,
So and even if it was, it doesn't offer the same type of risk reward that comes from actual human connection. So one of the benefits, for example, of actual camaraderie with actual people is like you grow friendships by the confidences you share in one another, and you're rewarded by keeping those confidences, and you develop your relationship through shared experience and stuff like that. And that is a risk you take every time you develop any type of friendship, romantic relationship with another person. But it's the innate humanness of that person that makes it a risk, because a person can say they're trustworthy and prove not to be. And
people are unpredictable.
And doing so with something that doesn't even have that, I guess, what would be referred to as a soul, as pure humanness.
Like, I feel terrible for this mother, obviously.
Yeah.
But I have to say it's your responsibility to shield your child from things like this.
Yeah, I guess that's the next bit. The next part of the question is, does anybody believe that the lawsuit is justified?
I don't know about the lawsuit being justified, but like it is legitimate for parents to say children should not have these tools. Like there's nothing wrong with telling your kids, hey, look, you can't have a smartphone.
Yeah. Like everyone,
you can't have a computer in your pocket when you're 7. You should, and it's my opinion that you shouldn't give your kids screens to look at. Like you should have, if you want to have like a TV or something like that, like that's fine, but you're controlling that. But just giving your kid a screen that they can very easily learn. Look, I saw a parrot browsing YouTube, looking at parrot videos just the other day. No, legit. Parrots like YouTube, and it was scrolling through, and it would select videos with other parrots.
I went off.
So the point being, it doesn't
How
take.
Does the claw click on anything?
It was using its beak, and the point is, it doesn't take. These are very simple things to operate, and if you hand your child this at 3, 4, 5 years old because you're too lazy to parent them, you're going to mess your kids up. You can, and I'm not looking to tell people how to raise their children. I know when I have kids, I ain't giving my kids anything like that. They're not going to have an iPad or anything. We'll watch stuff on TV. I can get YouTube on the TV. Like, it's not like you don't have that option, but you don't give it to a child to scroll through and select what it wants to watch at their own, then you are totally abdicating all of the responsibility of monitoring what your child is watching.
It's like the kids that, can I go see this R-rated movie? No, but here's this cell phone.
Exactly. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Everyone understands that you shouldn't put a gun in a toddler's hands, but not an iPad? I just don't understand. There is, because people in my generation,
it is more safe to put a gun in a child's hand if the child knows how a gun works.
Okay, yes,
and
not
you teach
a 3-year-old.
It is more safe to put a gun in a child's hand if the child knows how to work it, and the reason is you know exactly what that gun does. You don't know what the child is going to see on the.
A gun is more
phone.
Predictable than an iPad. Yes. But it's like, I think that people in my generation who grew up with smartphones are realizing what a problem this is. I've seen a ton of Zoomers making TikToks that mock millennial parents for being so unscrupulous about their children's unfettered access to smartphones, iPads, and other technology, the internet in general, because it's just so blatantly ridiculous to us as the children who were the test subjects. So I think possibly Gen Z parents could turn this around by finally realizing firsthand what a destructive influence that can be. I know the character AI company made a response saying, "We're heartbroken by the tragic loss of one of our users and want to express our deepest condolences to the family. As a company, we take the safety of our users very seriously, and we are continuing to add new safety features that you can read about on our blog." You're not going to do shit. The parents need to do something about this. Yeah. That's really the takeaway here.
How old is the kid that killed himself?
14.
14.
Yeah.
All right. Super chats.
All right. Professor Freakoff said, "Send her back and see how they treat her." Mia Khalifa. I didn't know that she lived in, what was it, Lebanon, you said?
I think she was from Lebanon as a child.
Andrew Jacobs said, "Phil bought the order of things. Enjoy the penny."
Cheers. Thank you.
Greg Duvier said 2A is also why we are safe.
Yes.
Professor Freakoff said she got PTSD from... Should I even say that? I'm just going to not say that. T-Dog said, "Do you guys think Hollywood is intentionally modernizing old IPs to brainwash the next generation, not caring that they're losing billions doing so?"
I think it's more that the people in charge of the finances there have a hard time wanting to greenlight projects that don't have established IP connected to it, because it is so much easier to market and show the people in charge that there is verifiable interest at some level in this type of project. A lot of movies get, I think it's actually fair to point out, and a lot of people don't point this out, most of the stuff that comes out every year is in some way at least new, and nobody goes to see it. Okay, most of, not the big budget stuff, not the not the explosions, not with the sky beams, not the stuff I want to see, but most of the stuff that comes out every year is new, and nobody goes to see it, or it doesn't make the money that it's supposed to, and that's a problem if you're giving budgets that are too large. But they just don't have a solve for this since IP became as big of a crutch as it is now. That doesn't mean that there isn't some brainwashing or desire to change the culture going on, but I don't know if it's necessarily that they're as intrinsically connected as you may think.
Tacti Platty said, "Mary, I also had a chicken Big Mac. It was a 3 out of 5. I probably won't get again. I prefer the McChicken over it. It wasn't bad. It just didn't jazz me."
I do like the idea that he needs it to jazz him.
I'm looking forward to it. Tacti Platty said, "Phil, I still blast 2 weeks with windows down through the crunchy commie area near my job in MD. Thanks for keeping IRL on the rails. Really apprate it."
Yeah,
was I taking it off the rails? Do you think I was part of the problem?
Last night Ian was
Wait, what was he talking about?
The King of England again.
Wait, it came up again?
Yes.
How is that even...
And I was just like, Ian,
Relevant.
you're taking a serious conversation and you're totally derailing it because he's on that. It's almost as bad as graphene. There's like 3 things that he feels very strongly about, and if he can, take the subject or the conversation to those things, King Charles. He believes the king he's against empires, and he believes the king is run by CIA and Five Eyes, and the king has the power to dissolve any of the countries that are not the United States, that are from the that have spawned from the UK, and it's. I believe we have. I believe we have
downstairs.
more pressing issues in the United States.
We're not going to debate that issue now. I think we should move on to our next topic. We're going to talk about science. Everyone knows we believe the science on PCC, and a new study has come out claiming that the most attractive men and the least attractive men are both equally misogynistic, whereas men in the middle are ambivalent towards women. This says
Wait, so just everybody's bad?
No, I mean, you shouldn't be like a simp, right? But the men on the extremes, they claim, who are the most attractive and the least attractive, are the most misogynistic. They have the most hostility towards women. This is from the Scandinavian Journal of Psychology. And they say that this is a recent study of men in the UK. And this is the funny part. It's those who perceive themselves as either the most attractive or the least attractive show the highest levels of hostility towards women compared to men who perceive themselves to be average looking.
So it's your own projection of either your self-hatred or your overt love of self?
Right. I think that's the claim that kind of debunks the whole study, right?
Okay.
Nobody has an accurate view of their own attractiveness. If they wanted to find out what the most attractive and least attractive men feel about women, they would have women rate the men, right?
Pardon me for taking from a red pill talking point for a minute here, but wasn't there like a study done that said like men rate themselves more evenly than women, or no, men rate women more evenly than women rate men?
Women
okay.
only find like the like 2 out of 10. Yeah.
Okay, then if you're looking for an objective standard, right?
Well, it changes once a woman gets to know a guy.
Yes.
So like when she initially meets him, she's either like he's beautiful or he doesn't exist. So, but once she gets to know him, like if they're in a working environment or whatever, then it becomes an actual realistic kind of thing where they're like, oh, well, he's not so bad. And I like, oh, actually he's kind of cute and blah, blah, blah. But they have to get to know him. If it's just on looks, it's either he's hot or he doesn't exist.
It's a binary.
Yeah, it's
You're
a
either
binary.
a 0 or a 1. I've always said this. But I guess if they would look for an objective standard, fine. Have other men rate the attractiveness of the men in the study. Not themselves.
Dudes aren't going to do that because they're afraid to be called gay.
Well, if you pay them with an Amazon gift card, whatever it takes, you have to get the science done. This says they additionally found that men with strong right-wing authoritarian beliefs were also more likely to be hostile towards women.
Shocker.
What are the authoritarian beliefs?
What I'm wondering is what their standard is for hostility towards women, because I'm sure if I took the test, they would find that I'm extremely misogynistic, but that doesn't reflect my real attitudes towards women, being one myself.
I don't believe that.
You don't believe that?
No.
Maybe we'll debate that. But this says both misogyny and sexism perpetuate gender-based inequality. These attitudes not only harm women, but also contribute to rigid gender roles that affect men as well. They're their own worst enemies. The research involved 473 single heterosexual men aged 18 to 35 with an average of 26 years old. And each participant was compensated It included a variety of psychological assessments to evaluate hostile sexism, misogyny, self-perceived attractiveness, sensitivity to rejection, loneliness, gaming habits, gaming addiction symptoms, and right-wing authoritarianism. So they were trying to separate the Chads from the incels, and what they found out in the end is that the Chads and the incels feel the exact same way toward women.
That's very, very strange. The whole thing. I imagine that putting out studies like this is just cake now because people are talking about themselves. So like they're like, oh yeah, you'll give me an Amazon gift card to rate myself. Let's freaking go.
But I remember as this headline was going viral, people were saying, oh, this makes total sense because all the hot guys who get all the women have interacted with women more, so they realize that women suck. And then the unattractive guys are so bitter about being rejected that they think women suck.
I think if you're a hot guy, it's not just that they've interacted with a lot of girls. Women will throw themselves at guys like that, and so
it's unbecoming.
So it's unbecoming, so they lose respect. So they're just like, oh, you know,
some
as a class.
But it also makes them easier to impress, right? If you don't throw yourself at a guy, that means if he's used to that, that means he's easier to impress.
Yes, but I don't know that. Like, I'm not sure that women can do that.
Can do
like so the like for guys, like if guys don't throw themselves at women, then you have a better chance of being interesting to her, right? If you're throwing yourself at a woman, she's going to find that unattractive. You're going to seem desperate. You're going to get the ick, whatever. Mm-hmm. Women that see a guy, especially if she's a fairly attractive woman, women that see a guy that's very attractive, they expect him to respond because all their lives men have responded. So that if they think, well, if I go ahead and I approach him, I'm guys are always throwing themselves at me, so I must be a 10, even if she's like a 7 or an 8. And so like she approaches the guy and the guy's like, well, I'm not interested. And then it's like, it becomes uninteresting to the guy. It's like, oh, well, she's not that hot and she's, blah, blah, blah. Or there's a hotter girl that I could go talk to that, even if, so I feel like the throwing themselves at guys doesn't work.
Well, yeah. I'm just saying if you refrain from doing that, that could make things a lot easier if a guy is used to women being unbecoming in throwing themselves and making it easy is what they say. That would mean he's easier to impress.
I just don't understand what the right-wing authoritarianism has anything to do with this.
The gaming part too was funny to me. They're trying to find out whether gamers are more misogynistic.
This feels very pointed.
Oh, yeah.
As if they're looking for they want a specific answer.
Well, scientists are all perfectly objective observers, right? Of course.
No scientist is
That's why we believe the science, Brett.
That's exactly right.
But someone pointed out, we know from past research that unattractive people and average people overestimate their own attractiveness, and highly attractive people underestimate, but not as much. So basically everyone thinks that they're slightly above average. Like everyone thinks they're a 6 or a 7 is what past research has found. So having them self-rate is making your entire study useless to us. Yeah. It says more about someone's mindset, I guess, if they rate themselves a 0 or a 10.
Yeah.
And that makes entirely perfect sense why a guy who thinks he's a 10 thinks he's better than that he's too good for these bitches, and why a guy who thinks he's a 0 thinks that women will never regard him as a human being.
One's vitriol and one's hubris.
Yeah, basically. Yeah. So I mean, the results
of the
make
human
sense.
Condition. Like those are that's just kind of the manifestation of like the bad side effects of the opposite ends of the human condition. That people just end up that way. So what that says to me, guys, find yourself firmly in the middle. Apparently ambivalence is the way to go. Rate yourself, what's the thing, like everybody needs their lovable mid? Like,
oh yeah, that's
everybody needs to rate themselves a lovable mid.
Yeah, I've even seen guys saying that their own wife is mid, and I'm like, okay, the brain rot got to you.
No,
this
it is
insane.
It absolutely
You can't say shit like that. Even if you think it, that's a problem. But you definitely shouldn't say it to the internet and put your wife on blast like that. It's crazy.
That is bonkers.
I mean, people are just artificially introduced to so much more variety than otherwise.
That's a huge part of it.
They would have
Like,
had. You know?
I've said all the time on the shows, like, look, there's this cancer within dating and within relationships now where everyone always thinks that you can do just a little bit better.
They're always looking to chase after the
and
novelty.
And it's got nothing to do with whether they're a good match for you. It's got nothing to do whether you can build a good life together. It's this desire for just a little bit more, for maybe just a little bit better. When what I said earlier to you is that it's a superpower. It's a life hack to find something amazing and be grateful for something that's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And the internet makes that hard for a lot of people, and that sucks because they're going to lose out on all of the benefits of whether it's, you know, falling in love, getting married, having kids. And it's sad, but these types of studies aren't helping because they're somehow trying to tie it to politics.
There's a lot of people who talk about dating apps giving women a totally warped perception of their own value in the dating market and their own attractiveness, which I do think is credible. However, the opposite is true as well, or the corollary for men. If they are swiping on dating apps nonstop and getting no matches, they're going to have a warped self-perception as well, but in the opposite direction, thinking I'm worthless. Yeah. No women want me. I am going to be alone forever.
Remember,
it creates this doomer mindset. And we've talked about how dating apps are struggling right now. They're losing people. They're not as popular as they used to be. But they exist solely because some small subset of people are addicted to them.
Also remember, guys, the internet believes that Margot Robbie is mid. So
yeah, you just can't. You can't
trust the internet anymore.
Don't take these discourses on attractiveness seriously.
Yeah. So
a lot of it is just posturing.
Go and meet somebody in the real world and fall in love. There you go.
Well, that's a white pill. Yeah. We're going to end on that. We have some super chats. Nick C said, where's all the great white people music? Ghost Girl, who finds a reason to talk about Sabrina Carpenter or Taylor Swift every day. Well, I talk about them because that is my job.
Literally part of the job.
Believe it or not, I actually don't stream either of their music. So Tacti Platty said, Phil, yesterday on I-70 before Frederick, there was a mass hole driver doing 50, 70 miles per hour while in the left lane. I moved them. The left lane is for crime. I hope you are law abiding.
No,
they can't be law abiding.
If you're admitting what you did on the internet.
It's where you commit crime.
Do you want to do the last one today, or do you just want to finish Super Chats?
Well, it's up to you.
It's
I mean, we have enough time, don't we?
Let's just go to the last topic.
Are you sure?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, so I wanted to talk about this. A woman on TikTok went through a breakup, and she decided to create a song about it. This is her way of grieving the end of a 3.5-year-long relationship with her boyfriend, who convinced her, she says, to move from LA to Texas. And after they moved, she had drained her savings. She drained 3.5 years on this relationship. He decided that they have nothing in common and they needed to go their separate ways. She was a wreck over it and turned to TikTok for some solace. Let's take a look at her music video.
Here it is, guys.
Drive to Florida to live with your mom.
So now you have the whole story. This went incredibly viral. Many, many millions of views. It resonated with a lot of women out there.
So she's in an improv troupe, which answers a lot of questions.
Oh, yeah. Okay. They met in LA. She's in an improv troupe. This woman's name is Sprightly, and she has a social media following for her music. Mm-hmm. And she used this creative outlet to tell her breakup story. And, you know, a lot of the details, not really relevant. A lot of women watched this and thought of their experience being a forever girlfriend. And this is a term, a relatively new term for women who end up in relationships with men who are non-committal, but they make promises and they convince you and they say eventually, someday, finally, maybe I will pop the question. Sometimes it's a forever engagement. Sometimes you're a forever fiance where you got the shut up ring and you're just kind of planning a wedding for 8 years. And some people thought that she should have realized before making this move that this relationship wasn't going anywhere. But other people thought, like, this man needs to be in jail.
I will first point out that my first thought when I saw this was, this only exists because of like we just talked about the evils of AI. This only exists because of social media, because 20 years ago, if this had happened, she would have written this into an amazing screenplay, which would have become a movie. Okay? It becomes an exercise in strange narcissism to make this song about this horrendous experience that you had. So instead of a delicately written, elegantly acted movie, it becomes a weird song.
I wouldn't watch the movie. I wouldn't watch the movie, no. No.
She should have hired Taylor Swift to write the song.
To be honest, she seems super annoying, but I don't know. Some people like that.
Yeah, I guess.
Phil, you have complicated feelings about this.
I feel terrible for the poor woman. I don't know. I mean, just the fact that she was kind enough to like hide the guy's face, gives me the inclination that like she's a good-hearted person.
Yeah.
She could have been like, throw this guy under the bus and blah, blah, blah.
Tagged him in
and
it.
she might have been justified if everything that she's saying is on everything that she's saying on its face is true. Then, you know, she would have been totally justified in being like, F this guy, and be like, well, we dated and all these pictures you were in and you took them, so F you, I can put them up here if I want. This is what happened. Screw you, you know? Mm-hmm. So yeah, like, I feel terrible for her if, you know, he's like, I want to move back to be with my dad, and she follows or goes with him and spends all the money and stuff. I mean, if he was going to like leave her, he should have told her in LA.
Yeah.
And been like, hey, I'm out of here.
Yeah.
And if she's like, oh, I'm going to come with you, he should be like, no, you're not.
That would have been the moment.
That would have been the good person thing to do.
He did it with a written note, like
cowardly.
The next the current generations, people are having a really hard time having those uncomfortable conversations.
So non-confrontational.
It's just everything about that dude was gross. Like, or everything that dude did was gross.
Everything we heard about him so far.
She even gave him a cool alien head. She could have given him a baby emoji face rather than an alien head. Thoughts, Mary?
This was down bad behavior. Okay, here's the thing. Obviously, he was in the wrong for not telling her, hey, I'm moving and I don't want you to come with me.
Yeah.
This is the end of this relationship. He should have been a clear communicator, and he should have taken the initiative, if it was unclear in any way, to let her know that this was not going to go anywhere. Yep. Absolutely. And he did her dirty for not doing that. Okay. However, even without him saying anything explicitly, I think the message was quite clear. And she should have seen the trajectory of this relationship before she drained her life savings on moving across the country for this guy.
I am more sympathetic for her.
Who had never made any active commitment to her. You should not do that. Yeah. You should not do that. And I saw a lot of people saying similar things. And stories like this just make people more and more cynical about the possibility of finding love as well, We have a 20 from the Manic Mustache. Late as usual, but apropos to mind-blowing news. Thank y'all for being the sanity in the pop culture that keeps the voices in my head entertained. And thank you for continuing to be professionals. Stay toxic, my friends. Thank you.
We are here to play this song and give you something to listen to at work.
They're eating the cats. Eat the cat. Eat the cat. They're eating the dogs. They're eating the cats. Eat the cat.
I think part of it is like, look, the good stories that put your partner in a good light don't make it to these types of videos.
Okay, sure. But it's funny, like, in the beginning of the social media era, everyone would say, don't believe what you see on social media. It's a highlight reel. People only show their best selves. The situation has entirely flipped.
Yeah.
The only thing that people want to show on social media is their lowest, like, rock bottom moment.
I mean, look,
them crying in their car on TikTok.
Plenty of influencers are still posting their pictures, out at the beach or at resorts, and their life is one big vacation. But those are, like, people can clearly see that type of personality now for what it is. This feels somehow more real to people.
Yeah, definitely.
Even if it's just as fake.
Well,
not fake, but even if it's just as... Have you ever seen the videos where they show, like, a woman... It's always a woman. I'm sorry, ladies. It's not misogyny. It's just... They show a woman crying.
It would be fine if it was misogyny.
They show the woman crying on a video with, like, a song playing over it, and then somebody's like... reenacts it where he sets up the camera, he sets up his phone, he double taps the screen to focus it in the right place, and then sits there and starts crying, and the music doesn't start playing until he sits down, and suddenly the music changes and he color corrects it so you can see exactly how it starts. It's all fake, in a way.
But the story, details aside, is very real, and it's something that a lot of women saw and resonated with, and that's something we should talk about. I think the general consensus is shifting that, hookup culture definitely went too far. It's destructive for people who want to be in relationships when the norm is just casual sex, right? Yeah. But the more sinister factor in modern dating that is less talked about is serial monogamy. And people just getting in multiple long-term relationships, not knowing how to be single, being so uncomfortable with any level of solitude that they cannot manage not being in a relationship for any period of time, which is another form of using people, really. And it's also possibly, you could argue, worse, because you're wasting someone's time, their precious time that they're not going to get back, rather than wasting just one night with someone, right? So that's why people are so angry at this guy, or at least who they believe him to be. Obviously, we don't know the whole story. But this is really just a disgusting thing to do. And what should have happened years before this is possibly his father or her father saying, you can't do this anymore. Yeah. Like, you either commit or you stop wasting my daughter's time. Yeah. Or stop wasting that poor girl's time.
A good role model would be a huge influence here.
Yeah, a man-to-man confrontation that clearly this guy is incapable of having because he broke up with her via letter.
Fathers don't sit down with boyfriends anymore and say, what are your intentions with my daughter?
Yeah, but now I'm seeing all of these tweets from women who just think that love doesn't exist. One of them said, no shade, but prioritizing love has never benefited a woman, ever. Another one,
source?
Another one said, what was it? I think they said, this is a strong case for women in their 20s to do whatever it takes to make friends with women in their late 30s, because this move would have been killed in the idea phase. Another one said, never quit your job for a man, never ever deplete your savings for a man, never ever ever move somewhere just for a man. I will scream this from the mountaintops. There needs to be something in it for you that is more than just him. And a lot of women saying similar things. You should never go out on a limb for a man under any circumstances. They didn't offer like a conditional statement there. Never commit, never do this for a man if he doesn't commit. It was just in general, like, never do anything for a man. Only look out for yourself. It's every man and woman for herself, for himself.
There is a certain amount of value in the, like, if he's not committing, like, if you're not married, like,
Yeah.
maybe it's not a good idea. Like
Yeah.
if you're married, then obviously it's like, look, you guys are one. You guys have committed your lives together to each other. Then you sit down and you figure out how you're going to do it, whatever. But like if you're just dating, like that door is still open. So he could split, she could split. Like, so I mean, I'm not saying never, but if you're going to do it, you better be real sure. You know?
I mean, even if you're engaged, engagement isn't marriage. That is also possibly something that could fall apart. And I agree with those statements, but they're not saying it for the right reason.
No, they're not. They're saying because they don't like men.
Yeah, exactly. They're saying never do this or that for a man because men are worthless. You don't need one. But then women are still left after being lied to thinking, oh, if I don't need a man, why do I want one?
Yeah.
Like, what value does that add to my life if everyone keeps telling me that I don't need a man for anything and I should be self-sufficient in every single way, emotionally, financially, physically? Like, why do I still want this relationship? It doesn't compute.
Is there an issue with the fact that two people were together for that long and it took till for all of this to happen for them to apparently both realize that they have nothing in common and they're completely incompatible?
They had nothing
People
in common.
change.
Nothing in common. It was just an excuse. He just wanted to leave. I imagine that he was sleeping around.
You think?
I think he went on that trip and he was
The family vacation.
Yeah.
That was it. That was the straw that broke the
Not
camel's
watching
back.
that. I don't want to hear about that.
You know what I
story.
think happened on the family vacation without her? By the way, going on a family vacation, you've been together for 3 years and she's not invited. That's crazy. But on that family vacation, I think that's finally when they had the intervention moment and they were like, dude, this is crazy.
Commit or break up with her.
If you can't make yourself commit at this point, you're never going
and
to.
the dude's like, fine, but I'm writing it in a letter.
Yeah, it's just, that's also such like wimpy, weak beta behavior. You
Also,
can't
like-
even have a face-to-face conversation.
Like, not just that, but when you read it, like, call me judgmental, but his handwriting is worse than mine.
Well, I didn't even look at the letter.
Well, it's on the screen, so, you know. That's also, this kind of has the same issue as the Mia Khalifa video, meaning that the delivery method makes it harder to have a larger discussion about it.
Yeah, it just...
Because people just find the video annoying or cringy, and then they don't engage with the actual discussion.
Yeah, she is. I mean, she didn't deserve that, but she is annoying and cringy. Let's read some super chats. Shane H. Wilder said the Clint Eastwood beat was from a 1981 Suzuki Omnichord using the Rock 1 preset.
Yes, thank you very much.
Corey Anderson said, listen to Hot Mulligan. They are post-pop punk. I have been listening to them lately. They're good. Matt Gingell said, check Humphreys McGee for some amazing new rock music. The song Wizard's Burial Ground is a good start.
If we have any more for Phil, let's read those because Phil's got to get going.
Yeah.
All right. I don't see any right now, but send your 20s if you have them.
Yeah, send 20s.
Shane H. Wilder said, good Charlotte. Now I want to listen to the Chronicles of Life and Death. Both versions of the album were bops, although I preferred the death version. 200 Watt Studio said, miners need a lot better protections. They work underground for days in horrible conditions.
I knew that was coming.
Yeah. The Rumbling said, wait, but I passively listen to you guys. You're my white noise in the background, like randomly listening to a Spotify list. Hurrah, Phil.
Perfect.
Hurrah, Phil. Corey Anderson said, if people want to know the struggle artists have with drugs and fame, listen to Pink Floyd's The Wall. Masterpieces like that aren't made anymore. BMF Nate Dogg said The Matrix had a bad anime prequel.
A lot of
Poor
people believe The
Keanu.
Animatrix is actually the only good sequel there is to those movies.
Well, I guess technically prequel. The Rumbling said, also Mia sucks for real, for real. Yeah.
But that.
Right.
Goofer Trooper said, how do I convince my bro to not wear a funeral fit to a wedding? In other news, I'm treating myself to pumpkin spice latte and PCC. Let's go.
Ugh.
A funeral fit? I mean, men have it so easy. They can usually wear kind of the same thing to a funeral or a wedding. So I don't know what you mean by that. Shane H. Wilder said, implied violence really does affect people more. The film Funny Games has no violence at all, but people swear it is full of it.
I mean, I felt the same way when in Batman, in The Dark Knight, when the Joker has the knife in his mouth after he comes out of the garbage bag in the pool hall. And it cuts away before he does anything, and all you see is shutter and great sound design, and no actual violence is seen on screen.
Red Snow said PCC, Chick-fil-A, and a Long Island iced tea. Oh, yeah.
No, thank you.
That sounds fun. All right, Phil, it looks like it's your time to bounce.
Yeah, I gotta bounce. So if you want to follow me on the interwebs, I am Phil That Remains on Twix. I'm Phil That Remains Official on Instagram. The band is All That Remains. You can check out our new singles, No Tomorrow, Let You Go, and Divine on the old YouTubes. Keep your eyes peeled. There's a new song coming in the next couple of weeks. And don't forget, The Left Lane is for Crime.
We will be answering on Phil's behalf for all questions and further super chats.
Hope you trust us.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't see any bad I don't see how anything bad can happen.
Well, we won't make any bad illusions at all.
No, nothing.
All right.
All right, let's continue. Austin Kamen said, to Phil's point about rock music being embraced more in suburban communities, I'm reminded of the movie Wayne's World based in Aurora, Illinois. Thoughts?
Absolutely. It's because Wayne's World is a masterpiece, and everyone should go watch it right now. It's one of the most quotable movies of all time. I might actually go watch it tonight now that it's been brought up.
When I
Stan
rewatched it, I was like, this is not as good as I remember.
That was actually depressing to me when you said that, but Stan Mikita's Donuts, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to do that. It's going to be great.
Pop Culture Junkie said, I don't have a TikTok account. Today you convinced me that was a great decision.
Not a bad point.
Yeah.
No need for a TikTok.
If you're not planning to post on it, maybe just don't make an account.
Yep.
Gordon Shumway said, Phil, remember in the mid-'80s when suddenly it was cool to talk like a Valley girl? That's what Brainrot reminds me of.
Wait, I thought that was born out of Clueless.
That was in the late 90s.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I didn't know it was a thing in the 80s.
Not the mid-'80s. Zach said, Phil does not disappoint. I was really hoping he was going to say Interstellar, and he did. Let's go.
There you go. Great choice.
All the Phil super
Great
chats
choice in soundtrack. I know. Well, that's why I was, when what he thought I meant was like send 20s now. What I meant was like maybe we should go through and find the ones.
I am
that
so not going to do that. Chris L said, damn Phil, great selection. Been listening to the Last of the Mohicans soundtrack for 30 years. Hands down the best. Try Kiss Ass soundtrack.
Phil says thank you.
I'm sure he does. In spirit.
He says cheers.
Corey Anderson said, Mary, I know it isn't either of our places. It just hurts for some reason. Y'all are the only media I digest, and it sucks when one is in the dark. When you are in the dark.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, if it helps to know you were always in the dark the entire time, it just feels like that now. Because
that was deep.
You don't actually know what goes on behind the scenes, and that's the way it's supposed to be. That's the way it's going to stay. Shane H. Wilder said, I'll say it again, I hate AI. Talk to real people.
Yep.
Or, I mean, you would literally be better off having no interaction whatsoever than interacting with a robot. You don't even need, yeah, you need friends, but you'd be better off with nothing than just a robot friend.
Yeah.
Hot take. Sorenko Production said it's literally a simulacrum of reality. So true.
I've yet to find a time in the real world to use that word.
We need to pick vocabulary words of the day.
Yeah.
But we won't tell the chat what it is, We'll just make it our own thing. Corey Anderson said calling women out for their BS isn't misogyny. I don't think we said it was.
That's I think there's a little bit of reading into it there. That wasn't really what that whole thing was about.
Shadow Zero said, what I think is that the modern audience thing isn't real. What they're trying to create is a modern audience. That's why they reboot old classics, so when people look back, they don't find the originals.
Okay, that's actually an interesting idea. That's actually something that's done in media right now, which we talk about all the time, which is how do you obfuscate search results, right? So just the other day, Donald Trump goes and he serves fries at McDonald's. Should have worn the visor, but
and then they're like, boom, E. coli.
And so, and the conspiracy theorist in me is like, maybe it did that because it gets Donald Trump and McDonald's out of the search results. Yeah. We've talked about this at length about Mr. Beast in the way that you can manipulate the news against you by simply creating more headlines. And this actually happens a lot when I'm trying to look into stories that we're talking about. Right? So you look up something about an actor or an actress and, you're kind of buried in current results.
Yeah.
But you're looking for something older. So you got to go back to page 5.
Well,
page
the search
6.
engines are all useless now because they prioritize showing you ads over showing you the actual results
Correct.
you're looking for. But it's not just that. When we were talking about retroactively editing shows and movies on Monday, I said they might be just making all these remakes so you forget what the original was.
And yes, look, you're absolutely correct that it's proven time and time again that the idea of the modern audience is a buzzword that's used by PR firms at these companies. It's not a real thing in any meaningful way that translates to sales. What it means is when something that they deem as good for the modern audience actually succeeds, it's not because the modern audience was like, "Whoa," appears out of nowhere. No, it means that what they somehow thought was good for the modern audience just appealed to the regular audience as well. Okay.
Look, I mean, people don't think about how young of an industry Hollywood is. It's barely existed for a century. And they're talking about a modern audience as if films have existed for centuries, and it's just not true.
It makes no sense given the fact that so much emphasis can also be put on people's love of classic films, the classics, not the ones that are considered stuff that needs to be remade, but there's the Criterion collection exists and people love to talk about that.
Yeah. Surinko Productions said it's literally the bell curve meme, LMAO, the Chads and the incels. Greg Duvier said guys also have a binary system, would or would not. Well, yeah, that's true. But the would or would not is very controversial, I've gathered. Right?
I guess. Don't think about
like
it.
Some men say would to a certain celebrity, and then all the rest of the men are like, what the fuck? Like, you're crazy. That's like...
It's she's
a bridge troll.
More than anything, that becomes like a form of male posturing, and
sometimes
it's how men interact.
200 Watt Studio said men are never impressed by a woman. We care only if we can get along with you. Well, I wouldn't say you speak for all men.
You don't exactly speak for all men.
BMF Nate Dogg said, I became misogynistic when I started working with women.
Dang.
Working with women. Yeah, that doesn't sound like a pleasant experience in the modern HR tyranny.
Maybe he worked at that candle company that made that video, that Australian candle company that made that video.
Itty bitty titties in a bob.
Yes.
Itty bitty titties in a bob. Barrett 1313 said some girls look easy like a 6.5. They get approached a lot. It gives them a false idea. They're not approached because they're hot but attainable.
I mean, maybe the fact then your rating system is wrong, and what matters is that they're approachable, and that attributes something to their personality as well. That matters as much as their physical appearance.
I think a lot of objectively attractive women walk around thinking that they're not attractive these days because approaching in real life, even calling it approaching is so...
Not if they have social media and their inbox is full of people sending them messages. I don't buy
Me getting simp DMs in my Instagram inbox makes me think no different of myself whatsoever. And no woman feels flattered by some guy saying they would crawl over broken glass to drink our saliva. That is not...
Flattered is not the same thing as...
That doesn't make us as women... dare I say, think we're attractive. That's literally just simp behavior. It means a whole lot more for a man to speak to you in person.
How often does that happen?
In general, it doesn't happen nearly as often as it used to because everything is digital now. And that's why I say a lot of attractive women walk around in society today probably underestimating their options because... I don't even like calling it approaching, but because approaching women in real life is just not as common. And I don't like calling it approaching because it's like you're talking about approaching someone like they're not a person. It's like you're approaching like another species.
Men
and it's just a conversation.
This will always be a disconnect between men and women because the male inbox, if you're just a regular dude, is barren. For most dudes, right? They're just...
Why do people think that I don't know why you seem to think that a DM from somebody
just
making a
using
sexual
it-
advance means anything.
I'm just using it
has
as
no
a
weight.
gauge of how a society that is more and more consistently online than in the real world gauges their interactions between the opposite sex.
I'm just saying that's a cheap form of communication that doesn't actually mean anything. And in fact, it might not even express interest. It's like literally like the digital equivalent of like someone like burping at you. Like it's literally
the meme for online is like women get 1,000 compliments a day, and the guy sustains himself on the old lady at the gas station who said he looked handsome today, and that compliment sustains him for 5 years.
They also say like men only receive flowers at their funeral, and it's like, okay, well, maybe it just makes sense that women receive compliments and flowers. Maybe that's actually the order of the world.
Yes, a girl doesn't really give guys flowers.
That seems weird to me. I wouldn't buy flowers.
These
for a
hoes
man.
be doing too much.
I would not buy flowers for a man. That would make me feel very manly. Shane H. Wilder said, if you think your wife is mid and not a 10, then there is something wrong with you, but I'm not married, so WTF do I know? Well, they do talk about like wife goggles, right? You are supposed to find your wife attractive.
It would be freaking weird if you didn't.
Yeah. Shane H. Wilder said auto-tune can't even help this cringy video.
See, that's what, like, everybody's got tonal issues here, right? So everyone's trying to deliver some type of message that just dies on a vine because they can't get past the way it's delivered.
Yeah. Potatoes for Seamus said, Phil, can we get a heavy metal let's go for Brett?
He says, let's go.
We'll ask him next time. Yeah. Serenco Productions said, bruh, I watched this on mute the first time because I assumed it was cringy AI voiceover. It's somehow so much worse. LOL, thought we already did
Cringe of the day.
Cringe of the day. Yeah, it was worse than the cringe of the day. But we had to do it. Amelia B said, our wedding anniversary was 2 days ago, and what I learned from dating is to find someone you enjoy spending time with. You don't have to like all the same things, but similar values and transparency.
Well,
that's
again,
great advice.
It's weird to imagine that you like all the same things.
We're not like 5 going on a play date, right?
Like, I told Olivia, I was like, I will never take you skating with me. That's weird. There are dudes who I know that have bring their girlfriends or their now their wives skating. It's a little bit different if they're going skating and like the whole family comes with and they're out at a skate park or something. That's not the same thing as like we spend all day going from street skating spot to street skating spot, and if the girl is just randomly there, it's just weird.
I think
y'all don't need to spend every second of your life together.
There is such an emphasis on having things in common these days because people don't have any beliefs or foundational values in common.
Yeah.
So you have to fill that gap with stuff and consumable things and hobbies. That's all the superficial stuff.
I will say, however, that one of my greatest joys is I try to curate and find television shows that I think Olivia will like.
That's sweet.
I don't make her watch, like, I made her struggle through Person of Interest, and she eventually did start to like it. And my hope in my heart is that she didn't do, because she knows that I would not make her watch that if she didn't want to.
She had to break it in.
Yeah, but for the most part, I try to find shows that will appeal or have interests that she does. Like, I'm not going to show her the, like, a lot of the science fiction stuff or most of the crime procedurals unless they have some other type of human element, more focus on relationships and stuff that I know she finds interesting.
Which says everything about the difference between
men and women. Like, okay,
I love it.
I'll give you an example.
It's just funny to me.
I'll give you an example. So last night, before she got home, I was rewatching. I tweeted about it last night, guys. I tweeted like, please go rewatch Daredevil, the original first 3 seasons of Netflix Daredevil. And I'm watching this scene in episode 5, which I completely forgot happened. Everybody focuses on the hallway fight scene, but there's an episode in season 1, episode 5. There's this scene where the blind drug runner is in the back seat singing the Mandarin nursery rhyme, and there's a camera on a Lazy Susan that's doing a 360 as Daredevil appears and takes out these Russian mafia guys, and it does 3 rotations before it finally cuts to a wide shot where Daredevil takes the guy's gun, breaks his hand, demags, and then throws the mag and hits the other guy in the head. And I'm like, oh my God, that was freaking awesome. She's like, you're such a dude. And I finished that episode, and I'm like, I've got something else we can watch. I'm not going to make you watch me like geek out over Daredevil beating up bad guys, because I've got my own time, you know, because we're not always together, whether she's at work or whatever. I can watch that. You know?
Yeah. It's about keeping a balance.
In the chat, somebody said, watch Roswell 1999. I do mean to.
I remember that.
But I tried it one day. It's one that I've never seen.
Yeah.
But it used to be on Hulu, and I don't think it's on Hulu anymore.
I remember watching
that I'm not going to watch.
I watched every episode like many years ago, and I genuinely liked it.
Yep. I need to find what streaming service it's on.
It started to not make any sense, though, toward the end. 200 Watt Studio said best part of the boyfriend's breakup letter was the postscript yes and. Wait, what?
What did it
I don't
say?
get it.
Can you reread it?
Something about the boyfriend's breakup letter.
What about it?
I don't know. Sorry. Corey Anderson said if a woman ever asks you smell this, don't. Okay. More advice.
Is that
Shane H. Wilder.
to see if the milk is bad, perhaps? I just throw it away, just in case.
Man. Shane H. Wilder said, this is why I love the Catholic view of relationships. The only real commitment is the sacrament of marriage. Don't behave as spouses when you're BF/GF. Completely agree. The Manic Mustache said, I have literally sit down with every guys that my daughter wanted to date. Her now husband came to me before he proposed. I guess they don't make dads like they used to.
Yeah.
Well, they also don't make these young men who think to even ask.
Yep.
Right? Like that it's special that your daughter found a guy who would even do that.
Yep.
Goofer Trooper said funeral fit all black suit. He refuses to even wear a colored tie.
I mean,
SMH.
I'm kind of on board. I would rather just wear all black. Like the only dress shirt that I wear is black. The only suit coat, sport jacket that I have is black. I'm not wearing colored.
You could convince him to go with a navy suit, or at least change the dress shirt to a white shirt.
Nope, gray.
Gray?
Gray.
Gray is, I feel, the black shirt is a problem because then everyone says you look like an Olive Garden waiter.
But if you're wearing a coat over it, you're not.
Even if you wear the coat over it, it doesn't look good.
Well, then
it makes you look like a caterer.
If that makes me an Olive Garden waiter, so
someone's going to ask you for the hors d'oeuvres.
Look, I love Olive Garden anyway, so I take it as a compliment.
Gordon Shumway said the Valley Girl craze was in the 80s. It was a movie with Nick Cage and a Frank Zappa song. The Clueless thing was something else.
Well, okay then. I was too young for that.
Shane H. Wilder said lesson of the day, don't simp. Stop it. Do better. I completely agree. The Manic Mustache said, in my single years, I was shot down more times than a French fighter pilot. That's the alpha male burden.
One must learn
exposure therapy.
To David Goggins. Stay hard.
Wait, what?
David Goggins, never mind.
No, I don't know.
Again, guy and girl difference here. It's okay.
Greg Duvier said, if my wife bought me flowers, I would assume she bought them for herself and was joking that they were for me. Yeah, I don't like this whole gender role reversal thing. Corey Anderson said Brett is a mix of Randall and Dante from Clerks.
Maybe I'll rewatch Clerks tonight. I have not seen that in years. I think it just had its like 25th anniversary or something like that. Some crazy amount of time.
Pop Culture Junkie said, I had a girlfriend send me roses at work once. Besides the raft of shit that I got from my coworkers, I thought it was kind of sweet.
Okay, also, coded in a movie, it would be like a female stalker of a male celebrity that would send flowers to a guy.
True.
And she would have wild, crazy eyes. Actually, a great example. Never mind. She doesn't play the... So there's an episode of the show Criminal Minds, which I also tweeted about last night, where Amber Heard plays a celebrity that's getting stalked.
Oh, yeah.
And she's getting stalked by a woman, not a guy.
Yeah.
I just love that. There was a sub menu on Paramount Plus. It said the sub menu was Criminal Minds scariest Halloween episodes. I'm like, bro, every Criminal Minds episode is a Halloween episode.
I don't remember.
They never had Halloween specific episodes.
No Halloween
Half the ones that
specials.
were listed there, the dates were like May. The air date was May. I'm like, they don't air Halloween episodes in May.
I don't know the answer to this, but do you think women or men are more likely to be stalkers?
Men.
I think probably men.
Women,
Yeah.
women. Okay, let me rephrase that. I think that male stalkers are more inherently seen as a threat, whereas women are actually applauded for their internet stalking.
Well, internet stalking is a different thing. That's not the same thing as being an actual stalker.
With my completely uneducated opinion, I would say men are more likely to be real world stalkers and women are more likely to find everything about you online and ruin your life digitally.
Okay, ruin your life digitally is a different thing than whatever. Tacty Platty said, slander. I asked before I proposed to my wife. I didn't say you didn't, but that's good that you did that.
Excellent.
I don't know
Almost
where
6 crisis parties today. Holy crap.
Did we already get to 6?
We're almost at 6 though. One more there from High Voltage 75.
Halloween next Thursday. Got your costumes ready. I don't know. I guess if I'm going to dress up as Anna Delvey, I've already had that costume for a while now. So.
There you go.
Pop Culture Junkie said that Roswell is on Hulu.
That might be one that we can start at home.
You should watch it.
Yeah,
the first season is good. I don't know about the rest. I don't remember the rest.
That's that seems like a perfect, because it's like sci-fi and
I thought, these are high school students, I think, in the show. I thought it was a little bit too
promiscuous,
too steamy
for high school students.
It was a little much.
It's giving Euphoria.
It was not giving Euphoria, not even close, but it was just a little much. Goofer Trooper said he's a guest, not the one getting married. Well, yeah, but he should probably wear a white shirt, not a black shirt, just not the all black fit.
Yeah.
Now
you've ruined. Now I'm gonna be self-conscious every time I ever dress up because I always
shouldn't
wear
do that.
All black.
I'm gonna tell you now because you should know. You should not dress in all black.
I'm Olive Gardening it forever.
In a 3-piece. Yeah, in a 3-piece suit, you should not be wearing all black.
I'm gonna do it. It's
not the look.
I'll wear a gray tie.
Just know I warned you. When someone comes up to you and asks you where the deviled eggs are, you will know why and you will remember this moment.
And then I'll tell them. I'll just lie and be like, they're over there.
Yeah.
It's like I read this tweet once where this says like every time somebody asks me for directions, I just tell them, I just give them random ones and don't actually tell them where. What are they going to do?
That's so messed up.
What are they going to do?
Someone could die.
That's horrible.
Yeah, that's awful.
All right, guys, before we go, would you hit the like button on this video, please, and subscribe to this channel if you have not done so already. The more people that subscribe, the more people that watch the live streams and the segments, and the more people that share these videos and live streams, the faster this channel can grow. It is the best way to help us. So thank you guys so much for that. Mary, there's one more there.
From Shane H. Wilder, once I get my new PC mouse, I'm designing PCC masks.
Oh, I don't know about that.
What, COVID masks?
No. Okay.
We don't need those anymore.
All right, Mary, where can they find you?
You can send me validation on Instagram at Mary Archived, or you can send me hate on X. That is also Mary Archived.
Should I do the very slow outro to see if we get to a 6th crisis party?
We're pretty close. Let me check.
I could do the... Okay.
We are $9 away. No, $7 away from our 6th party. Shane H. Wilder said for Halloween.
I would be very uncomfortable with a Brett mask.
That's
Why
creepy.
anyone would want to do that?
That is creepy.
Yeah.
But I'm also kind of curious to see how it'll turn out. So,
all right,
do what you will.
If you would like to follow me, okay, there's one more.
We have another $5 from High Voltage 75. Low effort costume idea, vintage PCC. Brett wears backwards cap and cardigan, Mary eyeshadow, and Twilight hoodie.
I still wear the cardigan. I just don't wear it on air. Cardigan is a great, pretty much year-round something that you can wear.
But you stopped wearing it on the show for what reason?
That's a really good question. Oh, air conditioning. We got the air conditioning.
Because I always berate you to turn off the air conditioning because I'm cold. Yeah, that could be a vibe. Potatoes for Seamus said, is it bad if I name my kid Wussel? So people will think he has a speech impediment. It couldn't be worse than Brett. Brett with 1 T.
Yeah, you don't want to name your kid Brett with 1 T.
Yeah, I would advise you not to. He'd be in for a world of pain. Red Snow said, forgot to mention praise be to Space King. BMF Nate Dogg said, beep boop beep.
It's beep
boop bop.
Yep.
Greg Duvier said, let's go.
We have gotten that
Okay.
6 crisis party, so unless it triggers before I do the outro, it will be a post-credit crisis party. Guys, again, thank you so much. If you want to follow me, you can follow me on Instagram and on Twix at Brett Dasovic on both of those platforms. Didn't even have
Here
to do
it
a
is.
post-credit one today. It's perfect timing. It's all coming together.
Thank you guys.
It's all being exposed. So he says blonde wig Brett.
On Halloween.
All right. Instagram and Twix at Brett Dasovic on both of those platforms. This show is here 5 days a week, guys, Monday through Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That is noon Pacific. We are on Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, Pandora, and Spotify. If you would prefer to listen rather than watch, you can give rate and reviews on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify. So please go ahead and do that. And if you want to follow the show on social media, we are on Twix at popculture_show, Facebook, and not TikTok because we were banned on TikTok at Pop Culture Crisis, and on Instagram at Pop Culture Crisis Pod. Guys, we will be back with another episode tomorrow. We'll see you then.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.